Hello and welcome to another edition of the Castaway Consultants. This time, a rewind edition. We are going to be looking at Season 8 of Survivor All-Stars pre-merge. We are watching this awesome season so that you don't have to, and being able to tell you all the things that these past contestants did right and wrong. My name is Josh Wessler, and I am joined today by two all-right co-hosts, Ryan Stacy and Derek Kubicek. Guys?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, we're talking about Survivor All-Stars today, unfortunately. I'm not gonna lie, not a favorite season of mine. But I am your resident super fan. I know everything there is to know about Survivor, so I will be giving that kind of point of view of the brainiac of the operation.
And I'm going to go ahead and disagree with Ryan right away and say, as the first-time watcher of All-Stars, it's been, outside of one episode and some ancillary confessionals surrounding said episode, it's been okay to watch. Of course, there are some things that are dated, but I've enjoyed this portion of the rewatch so far, or of my first time through the series. And if I can just get into it a little bit right now, I try to stay away from spoilers, but because I am a modern super fan of Survivor, and of course I've seen Season 40, I know who wins Season 8. I know some general things that come about in here, but from A to Z, I really didn't know how the season was going to go at all. So I knew the result, but I don't know how we get there.
Yeah, Derek's kind of our first time watch. He's never seen the season, so he's kind of giving us a fresh perspective on the seasons, and that's his role on the podcast.
Yeah, and given the quarantine, it's been nice to have some sort of personal project to kind of work through. It's been a great opportunity to sit down and catch up on some things that I'd been meaning to.
And I guess my perspective is kind of somewhere in between here. I watched this season probably 5-ish years ago when I was first getting into Survivor and binge watching all the early seasons. So it's nice to go back, and although I'm not watching every episode, I'm watching the premiere, the merge episode, and I'll watch the finale once we get around to it. But it's good to kind of use me as a barometer for how memorable a season is. And if you're new around here, basically what we're going to do is go through each of these episodes and go through some more of the strategic moves to really show what people did and what they might have been able to do differently, along with some just cool tidbits along the way.
Yeah, we're trying to teach future Survivor players how to play the game, and we'll get into it. I don't think this is a super relevant season for that goal, but we're going to talk about it anyway. But before we get into any spoilers, one last thing we need to talk about is the question, is this must-watch Survivor? We ask this every time we get on the podcast. Is this worth the general audience who either hasn't seen Survivor All-Stars or it's been years since they've seen it, is this worth going back and watching? I'm going to start off by saying absolutely not. Yes, in theory, this could be a fun season because we get a bunch of our favorite contestants and some of our not-so-favorites back to play again, which it sounds so exciting, and it's just not. It's almost every contestant on the season tarnishes their reputation. Very few, and I'm talking like 3 max, enhance their reputation. It's not a fun season. There's a lot of ugly stuff that happens, and I don't think it's super relevant in terms of gameplay because the way a lot of the players approach the season is not how any future All-Star seasons have played out. It's a very different mindset for these players that hasn't happened again, and I don't think it will. So it's not enjoyable, it's not entertaining, it ruins a lot of reputations, and there isn't a ton to learn here that is relevant to Survivor anymore. There's almost nothing here. There's only one really awesome thing in this season, and that is Ethan Zahn. And that is all I have. There's almost nothing else worth watching in my opinion. It's just a bummer of a season. So no, this is not must-watch Survivor.
I've been going back and forth on this. Even before I finished the final episode of the pre-merge, I've been going back and forth. Do I recommend this as must-watch Survivor? Having seen season 27 and onward, and now seasons 1 through 7, and now looking at 8, is it must-watch Survivor? All I can say for listeners is that it depends. Because this is our first returner season. So if you are going back sequentially and you're looking at some of these people who we'll never see again, maybe it is something you want to watch. Everything dealing with that one specific episode that we'll discuss, just skip that episode altogether. Ryan's right. There is a lot of stuff that ages poorly in terms of, I don't know, victim blaming again. So a little bit of echoes of season 5 there. But I have enjoyed the character development of a couple people, and that being said, a couple of these people are so important to Survivor mythos that you can't just strike season 8 from the record. So if Survivor mythos is something that's very important to you and you're going back, there are things in here that you need to watch. For me personally, having seen several all-returner seasons now, I would say this is not must-watch Survivor, and that's the side of the coin I'm going to fall on. That being said, I'm not going to discourage you from going back and watching this. I mean, ideally, we all say every time, go back and watch everything. But if you're looking for people who are going to change up their games the second time around, and you're looking for that gameplay in Survivor, within Survivor, and about Survivor, I don't think that there's anything in this pre-merge that you need to go back and watch.
Yeah, it's tough when you say must watch, because it's okay, how much is much watch? Is it half of the season? Like, where's the cutoff, basically? Because that's where it gets kind of tough, because there is stuff that I think is beneficial to watch in here. I mean, this is the first time that we've had a 3-tribe season, so that's something that's new to the game of Survivor. There is stuff where people make mistakes in this game that you can learn from. So it's not like everything is lost in this, and that it's just a complete throwaway season.
Sure. And
like Derek said, there's also a lot of stuff when it's just, when you think about just contextually for Survivor, with a lot of just these first returner season, a lot of bigger names that you hear just now throughout the series. The first time that we get some sort of actual like successful relationship out of Survivor, whatever value put on that. So gameplay wise, no, it's not really must watch Survivor, but when you have all these little tidbits here and there, it's one that I think is right on the border, and if you have extra time, I would recommend watching it.
Okay, well, from here on out, spoiler alert, we're going to be spoiling everything, the entire pre-merge, everything up till the merge. So if you haven't seen it, get out of here. Otherwise, stick around. Next, let's go over the cast real quick. Normally, we would, Josh and I normally play a game to see how many people you can remember, but this is an all-star season, so we didn't do that this time. But I do want to talk a little bit about this cast and who we're excited to see again, and who's like, why are they here? So we're going to go over all 18 cast members this time. First time we've ever had 18 people. But we'll start with the Superior Tribe, and we'll go over all of them in order of which they played. So first up, we got Suhawk, all the way from Season 1 Borneo. Suhawk, was that somebody you guys excited to see come back?
Yeah, I think I remember from our first time going through just Season 1 that I'm pretty sure I remember like being interested, or at least intrigued to see like what she might do differently the second time around.
Her jury speech alone warrants getting a second look through again. I don't know that her gameplay is going to change, but I am excited to see her.
Yeah, Suhawk was definitely a big get in my opinion. She is an all-star. She's got one of the greatest Survivor moments of all time. Absolutely good to see her again. Next up, we have Alicia Calloway from the Australian Outback. You guys could have Alicia back. She will always wag her finger in your face.
This is one of the things that I like the most about like the question that we asked during our rewinds is, are you excited to see this person again? Now, I wish I would have written those like answers down, because I think that I said no for Alicia. And I'm going to stand by that, just because there wasn't a whole lot you got from her the first time. And yeah, you can say like, oh, I'm curious what she would do the next time. But it wasn't like, she wasn't someone who I'm like, I really, really want to see more. You see a little bit of hot-headedness basically from her, and that's it.
I think that the wag your finger, she'll always wag her finger in your face. I think the more entertaining side of that whole situation is the person who's not coming back in Kimmy Kappenberger. Would I want to see Kimmy coming back based on Season 2? No, but if the only thing that I remember about Alicia from Season 2 is that she waved her finger in the face of someone who I don't like, I'm happy to see her. I like getting people back to see what to do a second time, but that being said, this is Survivor All-Stars, and I don't know that she would make that cut for me.
So I don't know if I was excited to see her come back, but I'm glad she did, because she's one of the few shining spots that gets to the merge.
And I agree with this as well.
Next we got Amber Burkich, also from Australia. And I know a lot of people are going, who?
Yeah, who's Amber?
Who the heck is Amber? I think I can speak for all of us when we ask, why is she on this season?
I don't know why she's here.
She didn't do anything.
We kind of talked about this off mic, that it's fairly well known that this All-Star season would have been much better fit for like Season 10. And just give it a couple more seasons, do it on a nice round number of 10, and you'd have a lot more to choose from. That's probably the way that it should have gone, because now you're kind of just like grasping at anyone who would say yes.
Now, granted, Elizabeth Hasselbeck and Colleen Haskell both said no. They would have been on in her spot. But come on, get Nalia. Nalia is more interesting than Amber. Get Heidi.
Yeah, it seems like you're looking for a specific type of person. If those are the 3 people that you're looking at. I don't know if I would have cared for Nalia either. Amber and Nalia is kind of a toss-up for me. I would have taken Heidi, though.
Yeah.
I think I would have much preferred her.
Yeah. I don't know why Amber is here. This is the biggest question mark out of the 18. Next we got Big Tom Buchanan from Survivor Africa. I love to see Big Tom back. Is it going to go great? No. There's some parts don't age well, but pre-All-Stars, hell yeah. I love Big Tom.
Yeah, he's one where it's a personality that it's gonna work no matter what season he's on. The one thing that I'd be cautious with is I don't think that we would really see anything more from him. He made it far enough in the game his first time around that I would be very surprised if he did any better than that. But is he going to be entertaining? Probably.
I was excited to see Big Tom again. He's one of those personalities, he holds no punches. He is who he is, and that's going to be dicey, and it's going to be entertaining. There's really not going to be a middle ground with Tom at all. And I think that's going to show on both sides of the spectrum in this pre-merge. I think that he probably has one of the worst moments, but he's always good for a genuine laugh, as long as you're not worried about being too politically correct.
Right. Big Tom should never play again.
He should not.
In this current age of Survivor, Big Tom should go nowhere near the camera.
Probably not.
Then we have Boston Rob from Survivor Marquesas, who I would say out of the 9 men on this season, he's probably last place on people I would bring back. I think it works out pretty well because he took the Brian Heidick spot because the producers decided they didn't want to bring... Well, Brian was asked, but he wanted too much money to come back and play again. He wanted X amount of dollars to play no matter what, and the producers like, you know what, nah. So they got Boston Rob instead. And I think that works out for the better because Boston Rob is far more entertaining than Brian.
Yeah, from an entertainment aspect, for sure. It kind of goes back to... It's something that probably shouldn't have happened. Just because, what was it? Did he go out in the pre-merge?
No, he was
first season?
the merge boot.
Okay, so merge boot didn't make the jury. Not really an all-star, I don't think.
No.
But it really worked out for the better.
My only thoughts on Boston Rob. He was, during the pre-merge of Marquesas, easily the most entertaining. So, did he deserve the all-star badge? I don't know, because there are plenty of good players that have been taken out at the merge boot or in the pre-merge that have come back to show their colors. I, as a viewer, was very happy to see him again based on his time on Marquesas, having seen none of his seasons after that. I mean, I know who Boston Rob is, but I never saw him play until 40, really. So I was really happy to see him again, and I'm so glad we had him over a Brian. I don't think anyone else could have picked up the role the way he did in the pre-merge, so happy to see him.
Then we have my personal favorite addition to the cast, and that's Rob Cesternino from the Amazon. Sorry, the Amazon. Love to see Rob back. He's my fave. Hands down, deserves a spot here.
You mentioned at one point that it was either going to be him or Johnny Fairplay on All-Stars. I think the better of the two in terms of overall value and overall contribution to the show made it on. Rob is not afraid to be a villain, but he's going to be super awesome as confessionalist. He's going to give you some great strategy, some great insights. And we're, of course, going to get an opportunity to see that in this pre-merge here. But no, he's an absolute win for this cast and nothing but an asset.
Yeah. See, and I actually would have really liked to see Fairplay on this season, just because kind of the same aspect as Rupert, where these people wouldn't have seen the entire previous season, correct?
Yeah, they didn't see all of Pearl Islands.
So I don't think that they would get the full view of Fairplay before he goes on. So I would have really been interested to see how that would actually end up playing out.
Well, Fairplay could have actually absolutely been fun.
But. Yeah, I think you could. I'm not saying that you'd substitute him out for Rob, because I definitely wanted to see Rob again, but there might have been a different area that you could have fit him into.
Maybe kick Boston Rob off, put Fairplay on. I don't know.
Maybe.
All right, that's the Shapiro tribe, so it's 6 people on each tribe. So let's go over to Mogo. Richard Hatch. You can't do All-Stars without Richard Hatch.
No, and, I mean, is he going to do as well as his first time?
Absolutely not.
Going into this season, almost certainly no.
0% chance of winning.
But it's more, this is like your true All-Star. Like, there's only a few, really, on this cast who are true All-Stars, and he's one of them.
Absolutely. You can't have an All-Star season without Richard Hatch this early in the life of Survivor.
Speaking of all-stars, Colby Donaldson, Survivor of the Australian Outback, absolutely. Mr. Cowboy, Challenge Beast, you got to have Colby.
100%.
I mean, yeah, he came in with Rosie O'Donnell on the back of a motorcycle. I mean, that's the only place I remember Colby from. Not, obviously, his immunity challenge run in Season 2. Happy to see Colby.
From Survivor Africa, Lex Vandenberg, who's here because of that awkward situation involving the Fallen Comrades challenge, where he actually got the question right, but they told him he was wrong, and he might have screwed Lex out of $1 million, possibly. I don't know. Lex is not a great Survivor player. I'm fine with him coming back. I like Lex.
I'm absolutely okay with Lex coming back. I was interested just to see how he'd play, hopefully learn from past mistakes, and we'll see whether or not he actually does this season.
I actually like Lex a lot. I would have to go back and listen to our first Rewind podcast of Africa to know my fresh opinion on Lex. But I can tell you, having seen that season several months ago, his game is one of the ones that stands out to me in that season. Like, I mean, yeah, you remember your Big Tom, and you remember Ethan being like the perennial winner who's loved by everyone. But I remember Lex being a strategic powerhouse in that season as much, if not more, than pretty much everybody. So I was very happy to see him come back.
Unfortunately, he was a terrible strategic powerhouse.
Hey, but if you can move the pieces, you can move the pieces. Not every Survivor player can move the pieces. So I'd rather have someone who can move the pieces on an All-Star season than someone who is just there.
That's true. That's true.
Especially in early seasons when moving pieces is just... And when so many other people are basically just being there. Like, moving pieces, even if it's incorrectly, can sometimes work out for you.
And so I was excited to see Lex again, and he was one of my favorite players from Africa. He definitely has holes in his game. Let's see if he can plug those holes.
Then we have from Season 4 Marquesas, Kathy Vabrick O'Brien. I liked Kathy a lot in her first season. She was one of the more strategic powerhouses in her season, probably second only to Boston Rob. So I think it's Kathy's a good get for Marquesas, because we only get 2 people from that season. I think Kathy's a good one.
Agreed. Kathy was one of the first almost redemption stories where started off really slowly, but her adaptability and flexibility allowed her to persevere and move forward. If I had to pick 2 people from Marquesas, it would be Kathy, and then maybe Boston Rob, but Kathy would for sure be one.
Yeah, Kathy's number 1.
And I actually think I remember during our rewind for that season that I said, no, I did not really care for having Kathy back. Yes, I enjoyed her during her season, but it was more, I think that we've seen everything that we can get out of her, and that there wouldn't be a whole lot added value. Now, if there's just entertainment tied along to it this time around, sure, that's fine. But strategically, I don't think that we'd get a whole lot extra from her.
Then our only representative from Survivor Thailand, and probably a good thing we only get one, Chien Huang. Honestly, when I went back and rewatched Survivor Thailand, I thought Chien was fine. She didn't really annoy me at all that season. So, yeah, sure. I mean, I would rather have, like, Helen, I think, from Survivor Thailand. I liked Helen more. You know, if we have to have if it doesn't have to be female, you know, put Jake on here. Because Jake was awesome and everyone else sucked. But Chien's fine if we have to have a representative from Thailand. You could do worse.
Yeah, it's fine if we have to choose one. If we didn't have to, I would probably choose not to have her. And I think I mentioned that I could really care less if she was on another season.
Her spot can get filled by other female Survivor contestants from other seasons, maybe better than she can fill that spot. Through the pre-merge, I didn't mind having her there. I didn't mind her in Thailand. I think that we spent a good deal of time talking about her eating the chicken back in Season 5, and we were actually like, okay, Rob with 2 Bs is kind of being a D-bag here, and Chien's getting painted in this unfavorable light.
Rob with 2 Bs is a D-bag? Whoa.
Never.
And that being said, I would almost rather see Rob with 2 Bs back before Chien, just for the entertainment factor. But that might just be because she was underdeveloped in Thailand, because they didn't really develop anybody well in Thailand. I would have rather seen Helen, I think.
Yeah.
I think
for females, yeah.
Yeah, the one thing that would be promising for her is that she kind of got screwed by a new twist in the game. So it would have been interesting to see how she would have done on that season without that, if it would have been your typical expected events that would play out. So maybe this would serve for that.
And finally, we have our winner from Survivor the Amazon, Jenna Maraska. She's a winner. Bring her back. I'm always on board to see a winner can play again.
Yeah, for the season, whenever you can get it.
Yeah, and she was one of the lesser exciting winners, but a winner is a winner.
Yep.
So, yeah.
All right, moving on to the Sabogo tribe. We start with Jenna Lewis, the one member of the Pagong tribe who's back. Jenna's fine. I mean, she was kind of annoying in Borneo, but it's always kind of fun to see these Borneo people come back.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, if you can't get like a Colleen or something like that, I'm fine with Jenna. Maybe she can use the good old Pagonging to do something different this time around.
Maybe this was something else that was going on, but based on what we saw in the edit, I really didn't need to see her back again. I don't remember what I said during our Survivor Rewind series about seeing Jenna again. I probably said, I'm okay with it, but I'm not excited. So seeing her on this cast, this is again one of those examples. Maybe if you wait until 10, someone better or more interesting would have come along, assuming that you couldn't get your Colleen or your Heidi's. So
It kind of comes back to what you say, Josh. What can we see from them? I think almost everyone on season 1 had more potential just because it was the first season. So I think there's a lot of room for growth with the season 1 cast.
For sure.
That's fair. I hadn't even considered that.
Speaking of season 1, we also have the legendary Rudy Bosch, the late, great Rudy Bosch. Yeah, Rudy is another all-star. You can't do the season without him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and he's definitely one where you're probably not going to get a lot of strategic side, but it's going to be Rudy. It's going to be a nice feel-good kind of just to have him around for a little bit.
Probably not going to last long.
But that's
75
fine.
years old, but hey, it's Rudy.
Yep.
Then we have Jerry Manthe, our Survivor villainess. We cannot have all-stars without Jerry either. She's another one.
I actually thought that our cast was quite devoid of good villains here in All Stars. Almost everyone came in with a very positive reputation, and Jerry was one of the few with like a dark mark on their record. I was happy to see Jerry back.
Yeah, we really only have 3 villainous characters. And one of those is a big, is he really? Jerry and Boston Rob for sure.
Right.
And then Richard.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Those are the only real villains in the cast, I'd say.
Yeah, I don't remember on a rewind if I said if I was excited or not. It's more good to have that type of person, like you said, with the villain. Do I think that she would do much different? I would hope that she would learn from her mistakes. Now, do I think she will? Probably not.
Now we have Derek's favorite contestant. We got Tina Westland, the winner of Survivor Australia. Derek, go ahead.
Absolutely. You need Tina. She's one of the greatest UTR players I've ever seen play the game. And even though she's a winner, I think she can shed that target off of her back and go far in a season of big personalities.
One can only hope.
One can only hope.
Yeah, I mean, again, winners. I am always up for a winner to come back.
Yeah, Tina and is one of the winners that I was most disappointed was not on Winners at War. So to have her back in All Stars, I think is a no-brainer.
Yeah. Now we got the high point of Survivor All-Stars. We got the winner of Survivor Africa, Ethan Zahn, is back. Obviously, he's a winner. He's great. But this is also Ethan's best season gameplay-wise. Between his 3 appearances, this is his most impressive game, in my opinion. He's not going to win. Spoilers. But I love Ethan playing from the bottom. It's so fun. It's so entertaining. I love Ethan here.
I mean, you love Ethan the first time. Talking about things that could change, Ethan put his adaptability and flexibility on full display in Africa. We talked about it on our podcast where he kind of won by letting all these other dominoes fall on each other, and he was the last one standing. So if you can prove to win a game like that, who's to say you can't change it up and play differently your second time? I mean, 1, he's a winner, but 2, I want to see more from Ethan because I feel like the cast around him of really big, wild, cartoonish characters almost limited him. So I'm really happy to see him.
Yeah, it didn't seem like there were like a whole lot of like big strategic moves from Ethan his first time around. So I'm really curious to see if he's just going to kind of take it a step further this time.
He's also the godfather of the challenge throw, which I love. And finally, our only contestant from Survivor Pearl Islands, we got Rupert. No-brainer.
Yeah, there's no reason not to include it on here just because of how popular he was. Now, both Derek and I think in our last actually episode of this rewind, both stated that we've had enough of Rupert. I don't know. That doesn't mean that like I don't care about I don't want to not see him again. But it's like we've probably seen as much as we can from him. We've probably seen his highs, and that's it. So I'm good with him being on the season, but I have low expectations.
Yeah, Josh kind of took some of the words out of my mouth. When Rupert got voted out on Pearl Islands, which I know was all of 1 episode of this Rewind series ago, so for those of you who don't remember, I was ready for him to go because he was outshining a lot of the rest of the game. I mean, it was the Rupert Bonham show, and I was like, but other people are here. I think a Rupert on a season like this, on paper, is better than bringing him back for some other willy-nilly returner season, because if he's surrounded by other people who are going to play hard, who aren't going to be bullied or trifled with, who also will deliver great confessionals and great moments, it's not going to be the Rupert Bonham show. So he deserves to be back on merit alone from his first season. I'm good with having him back because I don't think he's going to hog screen time. But like Josh said, I don't think he's going to be able to change his game at all, and I don't know if he has what it takes to win.
Okay, that is our cast. You guys ready to get into the episodes?
Let's go.
Episode 1. They're back. So, Survivor All-Stars, this is going to be the toughest season ever because they only get a machete, everyone gets a canteen, and a pot each. That's it. They're going to get away from this kind of stuff where they just give them nothing pretty soon because they realize, no one's doing anything this season because they're starving to death.
They're gonna die.
Which I always, like, originally I really liked when they did this because it's like, yeah, make it tough on them. Like, make it so that they actually have to, like, survive. It's part of the name. But yeah, when it takes away from other parts of the show, I understand.
I'm fine with it not being as hard as it used to be. We get a couple of scenes where it's really hard and great. We know what that's like now. Let's move on. The Spear Tribe, they're just kind of all over the place. They're all doing their own thing. You got 4 alphas on that tribe, kind of, who, you got Boston Rob, you got Big Tom, you got Alicia, and you got Sue, each of them who wants to do it a different way. Where Robsy and Amber are like, hey, you guys got this. But the other 4, they're kind of button heads a little bit. Over on Saboga, Rupert and Jerry, both of them show some growth in their games. Rupert was kind of the alpha last time, Jerry was super outspoken. Both of them are like, you know what? We're just going to be quiet, step back, and let the other people be in charge, which is great. I really like this for Rupert and Jerry.
Absolutely.
And Rupert has the freedom, too, just because they haven't seen most of his season.
Yeah, they only saw I believe, they saw everything up to the Outcast twist. They did not see the Outcast twist.
Nice.
They had heard rumors about it, and they were like, so what's this about the Outcast twist? And all the producers to be like, okay, no one is coming back this season. We're not doing that. No Outcast twist.
Probably a good idea.
Probably good. Both Rudy and Sue Hawk decide to drink bad water. Though they've been told the water in this part of the world has parasites in it, brain-eating amoebas. Don't drink it, boil it. What do Rudy and Sue do? They drink it.
I've drank worse in Vietnam or wherever
to be
he
fair,
said he
Rudy
was.
did drink water with bodies in it.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, probably don't drink the water, but at the same time, no, there is no at the same time. Probably just boil the water. This is not a solid move.
Granted, none of them can get fire, but, just don't exert so much energy, and eventually the producers are going to help you out. Eventually they'll be like, all right, here's Flint.
We tack this onto your reward.
They're not going to let you die. Don't kill yourself trying to get fire and stuff. And don't drink the bad water. Literally, don't kill yourself.
Yes.
Over on Mogo Mogo, immediately all 6 of these people just start scheming and plotting hilariously, and they're all just right off the bat. Eventually, like, all right, guys, we got to stop. We actually have to build this shelter. And Colby's like, I don't trust any of you sons of bitches.
I love this so much. It's just like, we all know what's going on here, and just have it like, because it's not like this is like an open like discussion or anything, but it's just like, okay, like you guys are talking, you guys over there are talking, we all know what's going on here. Let's just wait a little bit, please.
Chill out. We gotta lose a challenge first. And Richard starts getting naked and annoying people. Nothing could possibly go wrong with Richard getting naked all the time this season. He's always naked.
You could tell this entire time, but even in episode 1 with Richard Hatch, he knows he's not going to win this game. He is here to have a good time and be good TV. That is all he wants.
So, elephant in the room, Richard Hatch thing is going to end very poorly. Everything up until that point is amazing. He's a cartoon character, and he gives us some really great TV. It just sucks that it ends the way it does.
It sucks that it ends the way it does, but at the same time, even leading up to it, like, you're still making people really uncomfortable.
Oh, it's a bad move, absolutely.
Yeah, like
though.
in confessionals, I really enjoy him in like around camp and stuff like that when he's not just chilling naked. Yeah, like he's really fun to watch, and I love especially his confessionals.
He's got great confessionals,
always amazing. But maybe don't take it that far. Maybe look and see like, oh yes, like there's this one part of my game that like people really know me for. Maybe branch out. Maybe have other qualities about yourself that people know about other than just getting naked.
Yeah, I don't think there's any argument that he's trying to win or making a move to win the game. I think he's just here to just chillax and do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the edit actually does a pretty decent job of drawing attention away from him just getting naked all the time. And I'm glad they did it, because otherwise it would have just been distracting. You're right. He's a cartoon character, and I really wish that it didn't have to end the way that it did.
Yeah.
And we'll never get it again.
We'll never get it again.
Never in a future season, like from 40 and onward. Obviously, being nude now is against the rules.
Yeah.
So
Meanwhile, Rudy and Rupert, first alliance of the season. Rudy and Rupert. I wish this had lasted longer because
I love this.
Two of the bigs form an alliance. Rudy is the first person this season to make an alliance with somebody. Rudy.
Well, and especially like with these two people specifically, like one, they're a great match for each other. Like this is an alliance that you could see like going to the end just because it would be so solid. But two, it's a result of two people doing something different from the first season, which you love to see.
You love to see it. It just makes me so happy that Rudy is the first person to form an alliance this season. And Rudy is one of the few people on this season who I think does enhance his reputation as a player. One of the few.
Well, and also just the legend of Rudy, it does grow. But yeah, I mean, and it was in episodes 1, 2, and 3 of Borneo where he's like, I ain't gonna make an alliance with nobody. We're just on a tribe and we gotta survive together. These alliances aren't fair. And then here we are in All-Stars. Hey, I think I can make an alliance with this guy.
He's the first one. That's great. The first episode of this season is very good. I'd say the first 2 episodes of All Stars I legitimately like a lot.
It's exactly what you would expect from a returner season, especially the first returner season. Like it's very similar to the feeling that I had in the first episode of like Winners at War, where it's just like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. Look at all these people. Oh, I remember you. Yeah.
They're back.
And over in Shapira, Sue Hawk is just pissing her tribe off. She's super negative, got a really bad attitude. And that's not what you want to do. You're positive. If everyone else is negative, fine, you can feed into that. But if everyone else is trying to be positive, don't be that one person.
Now, I want to call this out early because of where this particular branch extends out to in the rest of the season. I genuinely believe that Sue was not only under-edited, but was portrayed in a fairly negative light when she did get airtime because of where her journey ends. So I want to acknowledge that now that we are obviously getting less than 1% of 1% of Sue's edit this time around. But they did have a lot on their ammo belt of Sue practicing as an isolationist and really going off on her own and not being a part of the group and generally just kind of removing herself.
Rob Sestino and a couple of other people from the tribe said Sue would have been the first boot if they had lost.
Sure.
You know, things obviously changed as the days go by, but Sue, if they had lost that first episode, Sue would have gone home first.
And you can definitely see that.
Definitely. And then Amber, Rob, and Alicia all get in a fight. Yeah, Alicia wants to focus on making fire. Rob and Amber want to focus on making a shelter because they had a tough time sleeping. All 3 of these people are in the wrong.
Yeah, and I know earlier in this podcast, you, Ryan, mentioned that Alicia's one of the people who you enjoyed watching for most of the season. But right away here in episode 1, she mentions that she wants to learn from her past and not be as hot-headed, and then immediately goes and does this, which shows, oh, okay, like, you didn't learn anything. You still can't control this. It's not good. You're doing this in front of everybody.
Oh, and make no mistake, I didn't say Alicia was a great player. I just said she's one of the few people in the season I enjoyed watching. Like I don't feel sick watching this person on screen.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And again, there's like 4 or 5 people on the whole season I feel that way about.
And this situation is echoes of Robin Ken. From Thailand, in my opinion. The appropriate response for Rob and Amber would have been to just kind of chill out, let Alicia dig her own grave, and don't respond to fire with fire, because as they're doing something, it's not like they're lazing about. They're trying to build a shelter, and they're having a really hard time getting fire, so why waste all your energy on something that's not working or having too many cooks in the kitchen at the time? I don't think that Rob and Amber are in the wrong in constructing the shelter, but in how you respond to that confrontation, it was wrong. So, while Alicia is the worst of the 3, everyone needs to just find a way to harmonize. And if one side of the argument isn't harmonizing, you need to be the one to harmonize, let them dig their own grave, and then maybe try and bury the hatchet down the road when tempers aren't flaring.
Absolutely. I agree completely. So we got our first immunity challenge, which is the classic Quest for Fire, which we did it was the first immunity challenge in the first 4 seasons of the show. Of course, they got to bring it back. They do a lot of that this season, bringing back classic challenges, which I always like.
Yep.
Pura gets first placed, followed by Mogo Mogo. Noticeably, they don't get Flint for doing this. Brutal, dude. Absolutely brutal. Like, normally you get Flint at the first challenge. Nope. Screw you guys. Make fire yourself.
Come on, All-Stars.
So, here's what's going on. Saboga's going to Tribal Council. We have Jenna Lewis and Jeremy in an alliance. We got Tina and Ethan in an alliance. They're the winners. And we got Rudy and Rupert. Jenna Lewis has a bone to pick with every winner and wants all 4 of them out of this game now. They've had their chance. They don't deserve it. Get off my field. This is super annoying. I really dislike Jenna Lewis in this. Now, Is this a good strategy to maybe just make sure you're not the first boot? Sure. Throw Tina and Ethan under the bus. That's a fine move on its own, but she really means this, and it just kind of sucks. It's just like, no, don't get rid of the winners first. Make good moves. Use the winners to your advantage. Don't just be like, all winners must die.
Yeah, there's definitely a different way to go about this, even if that's your thought process on it, because this is going to also make you be targeted by the winners. Like, oh, this person is never going to vote for us. Like, we need to get rid of her no matter what. And on the flip side also, if you're looking at the winners, this should show you that, like, this is probably going to be something that's carried in the minds of other people on this cast, and that you're going to have to accept that and use that to just frame how you're talking to these people instead.
I think that Jenna made herself almost the figurehead of take out the winners now. In Survivor, if you close a door, make sure you try to open a window, and Jenna is not opening any windows with this. Yeah, you know what? On this particular tribe, it will almost certainly survive her 2 votes. That's great. What comes after that? Well, congratulations. You have been the most outspoken member and vocal, I guess, powerhouse for those first 2 votes. You're probably next on the block if it comes to thirds.
Not quite a chameleon strategy there.
No. She's definitely bringing some heat on herself by doing this. But they recruit Rudy and Rupert to try and take out Tina because she's weaker of the 2 winners. But Jenna even tells Ethan she wants him gone. What are you doing, Jenna? You're making an enemy of Ethan. Ethan!
Yeah, not bright.
And Ethan, he's going to be like, hey, Rupert, you can trust me. My whole game was built on, like, honesty and stuff. Can you trust Jenna? No. You should come join me. It's a good pitch.
Yeah, and true.
It's a very good pitch.
You probably can't trust her.
But I feel like Rupert kind of feels the same way. Like, we can take out the winners. It's fine. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be shocked if that's the case. But it ends up being 4 votes for Tina, 2 votes for Jenna Lewis. It's a bummer for Derek. Absolutely. Josh and I watched this episode with Derek, and it was kind of heartbreaking to watch, but also very funny.
Oh, it was hilarious, especially when you know what's coming, and you see the whole process of what we were saying before, like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to watch this person and watch this person. I picked out like a handful of people who I was super excited to watch. Derek was just laser focused on Tina, just because he loves Tina so much, and just knowing how this episode was going to end, it was just like, ooh, no.
Josh actually had to go to the bathroom at one point, and he wasn't actually going to the bathroom. He was trying not to laugh.
I was so frustrated. Put some cuss words into this, but I said, are you serious?
Derek swore so much.
If I'd have had a notebook, I would have thrown it. But you know what? One, I think in a way, it's a badge of honor. I do think it is because she was the weaker of the 2 winners, like physically, that she goes home, because that is the right move. If you're picking between 2, early game, you get rid of the one who's not as physically helpful in the challenges. And unfortunately, that meant de facto Tina. This was exactly the type of season where Tina cannot go far. Almost certainly was never going to go far unless she was able to dig her heels in. First tribal council, absolutely no chance to even play this game.
It was the right move to get rid of Tina, unfortunately.
It was.
Logically, it made the most sense. But the 2 other alliances, get rid of the weakest person who's not in your alliance, also someone who's a winner. You know, toss up the 3 weakest people in the tribe are Tina, Jenna, and Rudy. Take your pick.
Honestly, I think that you could have gotten rid of someone like Rudy, because, I mean, if you even want to use Jenna's logic against her, winners might be good to bring to the end. Now, it's super, super, super early to be thinking like that. You got to win challenges. So if there was a huge difference between how strong someone is, then yeah, take them out. But if you're debating between someone like Tina and Rudy, you might be able to take out Rudy here.
Here's the thing that I think probably swayed it. Jenna and Rudy played together on Borneo. So they have a bond of some kind.
Yeah.
So, I think Jenna assumes she's got a working relationship with Rudy, which is fair. And I think Rudy would think the same thing about Jenna. Jerry did play with Tina, but they don't get along.
No.
This is amazing. This is best case scenario for Jerry.
Yeah.
Tina's the right move. And it sucks to see it happen. You hate to see it, but we see it.
Some of us really hate to see it. But yeah, it's the right move.
So, best player of the episode, Josh, who do you got?
I had Rupert just because he seemed like he was one of the people who would learn the most from his first game. No, we did have some good development from multiple people here. We saw it with Rudy as well. But the quickest, especially with how quick the turnaround here was for Rupert, it was really good to see that he was kind of dialing back a little bit, making that alliance with Rudy, and just being more self-aware overall. So I went with Rupert.
I also had Rupert. For all the reasons Josh said, he said, I learned from my first game. I don't need to be the big alpha this time around. Was immediately put into the majority on his tribe and in a tight relationship with someone who I believe would be loyal to the end if you're able to get there together with Rudy. So, Rupert.
I completely agree with what you guys say. Rupert is definitely the best. For everything you guys said, ended up on the right side of the vote. It worked out great for Rupert. Rupert's the best player of the episode. How about worst player?
I'm going to go with Sue. I mean, you even said, like, if they would have lost, she would have most likely been going home. It's pretty self-explanatory just with her overall attitude. Drinking water, yeah.
The bad water. Yeah.
Not a great job. I did give Richard an honorable mention here for it. Dishonorable mention, thank you. But it's still Sue.
I had Sue for all those reasons.
Yeah, it's Sue. Okay, before we move on to the next episode, we always have our winner picks. I always say who my winner pick was for when I watched this when I was a kid. Derek gives his winner pick. His first time I've seen this season. He's going to try and be as unbiased as possible with his pick. And then Josh tries to make a pick if he can remember it. Otherwise, he just does the best he can. So, Derek, who do you got?
All right, so we're going to whittle it down a little bit. From Shapira, I had two people that I wanted to point out based on edit, based on positioning. I had Big Tom and I had Boston Rob both written down. Big Tom because he had a moment at the beginning where he said that he is going to let all of these other alphas be alphas. So again, it's that idea that this is a returner season. I need to play different. He said that he's just going to kind of fade into the background and be really chill, and I like that. Boston Rob, very heavily edited in this episode 1. I mean, they do give camera time to everybody, but they are in your face a little bit more with a couple people, and Boston Rob is one of them. You see him immediately start to make bonds. You do see that negative mark on his record with Alicia in particular, and then obviously a little bit of fracturing on the tribe with Sue, but I do think ultimately on that alliance, he ends up in what would be a majority. So those are the two from there. So Jerry and Rupert from Saboka are my two. Both of them talk about playing a new game from what they'd done before, and I think that this was going to be a recurring theme, especially in the minds of the viewers. What are they going to do differently? And then on the last tribe, Mogo Mogo, I was like, I really don't know what's going on here. I love Colby saying, I don't trust any of you, but I felt like that was more for comedic effect. The other person on Mogo Mogo that I really liked was Lex. I really liked Lex in Africa. I felt like he had a very positive, very cool and collected edit on that tribe, and I thought maybe we can go redemption side with Mogo Mogo after I thought about it more. When it all got narrowed down, I was thinking Boston Rob or Lex, and I ended up going with Lex for my overall winner pick. And for the record, if anyone were to ever pick the actual winner of this season based on episode 1, they are a liar.
It's true. It's absolutely true.
Because I am spoiled on the winner.
Yes.
100% true. So for mine, I do not remember from the first time that I watched this. Unfortunately, I did not start writing them down for a while. Wish I would have. But I did narrow it down as well, just to a couple from each tribe. I got the only person on Saboga that I really saw having potential here is Rupert, immediately throwing all winners out the window here.
That's fair.
That is very fair. So Rupert's the only one I grabbed from Saboga, from Shapira, Rob, and Mogo Mogo. I had Lex and Xian. After it's all said and done, it really came down to Rob or Rob. And there are two people who I would have a really easy time rooting for either way, but like Derek said, there's a lot more in the edit for Boston Rob than Rob Cesternino, which is why I ended up going with Boston Rob here. Yes, he had a little bit of a negative spat with Alicia, but this isn't the best player of the episode pick. This is a winner pick, and that one thing shouldn't keep you from being a winner unless it doesn't really work out here in the next few days for him. So I don't think that's really going to come into play too much, and I think he's going to have one of the best chances in this season to win.
Speaking of Rob and Rob, I went with Rob Cesternino. I thought he was the smartest player on the season coming into this, which is why I picked him. He's also one of my favorites when I was a kid, so that was the initial reason I picked him. I still like the pick. Rupert, I think, is another strong pick. Those are really the only two I considered when I was a kid. I stand by both of those now. I really like both of those picks. But Rob was my pick. Also, he was one of the only people on Shapira who didn't get in a fight with anybody. And that helps. So, Rob Cesternino is my winner pick, and I'm sure that'll go swimmingly for me.
Swimmingly.
Last thing before we go into the next episode is we do lose Tina here. Very sad, but she will play again. You guys excited to see her come back?
Oh, please, God, yes. I want to actually see Tina play again for the love of all that is good in this world. Please Bring her back sometime soon and not like season 27.
Yeah. Just because I feel like the view on winners, if it is actually that long before we see her again, the view on winners might change by that point to where they might actually stand a chance.
I'm always up for bringing winners back. Anytime, any place, if you got a winner, I'm in. So, yes.
Yeah, it's usually a really tall test, like when they do come back, but you want to see what they got.
I always want to see what the winners got. I'm always interested. Episode 2, Panicked, Desperate, Thirsty as Hell. The tribes end up getting crates with 3 locks on them, and there's rice inside, and they'll have to earn the keys and reward and challenges to unlock these to get rice.
Keep it dry.
Keep it dry. And they are told to keep it dry after what happened in Pearl Islands. Some tribes will do that, some will not. Saboga wins the reward challenge, basically thanks to Ethan. He just beasts his way through the challenge. They are given the choice to either get blankets or the clue to the first key, a pot, a flint, but all 3 tribes will get those things if they so choose. They make the right choice and get the flint. It doesn't matter if everyone else gets the flint. You need the flint.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's a thought process here about keeping other tribes weak. Doesn't matter if you're also weak.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if the other tribes die, if you die as well. Choose the
You all
flint.
die dysentery.
Survivor is not about mutually assured destruction. Take the fire, whatever. Maybe it earns you goodwill with other tribes. I doubt it, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Take the flint. Always take the flint. Over on Shapiro, while making the fire, Alicia is very much a micromanager, and it's really pissing off Rob and Tom. They don't really say anything, but Alicia, you don't always have to say something.
Yeah. Careful what you say and how you say it.
Yep. Jenna Lewis is really cocky, and she's talking to Ethan. She's like, yeah, maybe we'll keep you for a few more days. Wow. And Ethan's got this amazing confession. He's like, oh, gee, yeah, thanks, Jenna.
I really appreciate your kind, thoughtful words. I'm buying into this 100%.
Ethan is the best part of All Stars, and it's not remotely close.
And he does this right. You know what? Let Jenna be powerful and then just go vent to the camera. This is how you play Survivor. Ethan, good player, confirmed.
So Rudy's got a really sore foot, and he can't run, probably because he's 75 years old.
Wow, who would have thought?
Immunity challenge. The goal is they have to unsink the boat. There's a bunch of rocks or something in it, or boxes.
Crates. Like heavy crates.
And they have to get everything out and then get all the water. They bring it to surface and then flip it over and get all the water out. Saboga has the lead. They're crushing it. But when they get the boat to the surface, they decide to just bail it out with buckets of water.
Stupid.
What the other tribes do, specifically first Shapiro, thanks to Boston Rob, because he's done this challenge before, they bring the boat ashore or onto their platform, flip it over, lifting it in the air, and then there's no water in it, and they're good to go.
Don't have to bail anything out.
Mogo does the same thing. So Saboga gets absolutely crushed.
Yeah, this is the same challenge as, you said Boston Rob season, where they had the rocks at the bottom of the ocean.
And Gabe.
And it was Gabe.
Gabe
Okay, I couldn't remember.
beast-moded his way through that challenge.
Yeah, because they just flipped it and just like, oh, we're just going to cut ahead of you guys here real quick.
Okay, bye.
Well,
Goodbye.
And what was crazy was Saboga, they didn't even do the thing where they flipped the boat on the ocean floor. They just were really good at getting the boxes out and getting their boat near their platform. They just stopped thinking. They definitely outworked everyone in that challenge, but you need to outsmart them, or outwit them, I guess more appropriately, at certain opportunities, because I would think the best would be take out some of these smaller weights, go down there with 3 people, flip the boat, and then dump all the water out of the boat and then go. This seems to be the optimal move here.
Work smart, not hard.
Exactly.
So you have Rupert and Ethan, who are beasts in the water, but they just weren't thinking.
Yep.
So Saboga loses. They're going to lose another second challenge in a row. So Ethan, he's like, okay, I'm in trouble. I mean, granted, yes, I'm good in the challenges, but I got to do something a little bit more. So I'm going to go catch a fish. Fails miserably. Rupert proceeds to go catch a bunch of fish because he's Rupert.
Sorry, Ethan.
Sorry, Ethan. That's the other great part about this Ethan, is he tries so hard. Everything he does in Africa works perfectly. Everything he does in All Stars fails miserably, and he's just fighting his way along.
Well, that's the other really great thing about having all these people returning, especially from early seasons, is that they're in so many different locations before, where if you were in Australia or Africa or the Amazon, this is a completely different environment. So you have the opportunity to freely go fish without having to worry about elephants or piranhas or anything like that. So people can act completely different this time around.
Also, actual water challenges, which you couldn't really have anywhere else.
Yeah. And then this is also under reported advantage. We're still in the Pearl Islands where Rupert played.
Yep.
He knows these waters. So Rupert's got a little bit of an advantage when it comes to the hunting. Poor Ethan. He's the Charlie Brown of this season. He's always trying to kick the football, and
Rupert's the Lucy.
Everyone else is Lucy, if we're being honest. Oh, Ethan's the best. So we go to tribal council, and basically the toss-up question is, should we vote out Rudy, who's the weakest? He's got a bum foot right now. Or Ethan, because he's a winner? That's the question. I think there's an option C here. Why not Jenna Lewis? Because here's what I'm thinking, right? We have two alliances of two, and then Ethan's the third person. You vote out Rudy here. Ethan, you're next. You're still fourth. And now you have Jenna and Jerry who have the power, and they can choose between Rupert and Ethan. They'll pick Ethan, obviously, but you're next. All right, how about this? The men team up and take out Jenna. All right, now you have three guys in charge. Ethan, you're not necessarily next to go. You could take out Jerry next. You could take out Rudy next. This, a much better move for Ethan would be to get the guys to turn on Jenna Lewis.
That's assuming that it's possible, though.
Sure.
I mean, you just mentioned last episode that, who knows, maybe it's just a little bit of playing together for Jenna and Rudy.
But Jenna's coming after Rudy, so Rudy should be willing to flip on Jenna.
Rudy also didn't know.
Well, someone should have told him.
And he might not be as willing to work with a winner, too.
Sure. But this is also a better move for Rupert, too, because it just gives him more power. It keeps his closest ally in the game, and he's going to end up sticking with Rudy to his detriment here. Because what's going to happen is the two girls and Ethan, they're all going to vote for Rudy, 3 votes, and then Rupert's going to stick with Rudy. He refuses to turn on Rudy. They're going to vote for Ethan. So obviously the wrong move for Rudy and Rupert. But if the 3 guys had come together, they could have had the power on this tribe.
You know I love overcomplicating things. But I'm going to fall back on Survivor, like, day 3 mentality here. This tribe cannot afford to keep losing. And if you've got a 75-year-old with a bum foot with these physical challenges, I do think that for everyone this early in the game, Rudy is the best move. But I do think that Ethan is not the option B. Option B truly should be Jenna Lewis and the guys teaming up, because that's... It's helpful for Ethan. It's helpful for Rupert in keeping his close ally. Obviously, Rudy doesn't need to go home. Jenna, who's up on her high horse and trying to be a power player on this tribe, she gets lopped off, which opens everything up a little bit more. So I think that is a better option B than Ethan. I don't think Ethan should be on the chopping block, but I do think Rudy was the best move overall for Saboga for ongoing survival.
And I see that stuff doesn't matter to me so much. I mean, yeah, you want the numbers. You know, it's great to be on a stronger tribe, but you're the lowest person on the totem pole. That still sucks because you could still lose. You know, just for long-term advancement, I do think the guys should have stuck together and knocked out Jenna Lewis. I do think Jenna was the right move, and I think the wrong move was made.
So, for people who maybe this is their first time listening to our rewind, but since I don't watch all these episodes, usually when there's a disagreement like this, I'm the tiebreaker. And I'm going to side with Derek on this. I think it's a no-brainer, actually, that it's Rudy. Just because this is your first time that you're having 3 tribes, and they're so small, it's only 6 people per tribe to start. These guys are already down to 5, and you have a 75-year-old with a bum foot weighing you down. And while that might not always come into play in a challenge, why even have that be a risk? Take him out, because even if you do take out Jenna, you still have the whole badge of being a winner hanging above you, and you're probably one of the next that can go. I just don't like it, so I think it has to be Rudy.
But yeah, Rudy does go here, sadly, and that's it for Rudy in Survivor. Rest in peace, Rudy.
Rest in peace, Rudy. We all love you.
My best player of the episode is actually Jerry Manthe for getting Flint and for getting rid of Rudy, which was the best move for her game.
I had Big Tom because he built on his episode 1 by having a couple more confessionals saying that he's just going to sit back and let all these other big personalities on his tribe throw haymakers, and he's just going to do his chores, sit back, and even though he's the biggest guy in the tribe, he's going to be the smallest guy on the tribe. So I really like that even though he didn't do anything tangible like get Flint, I think he did great for his game.
I'm going to go with Jerry.
Woo!
That's fair. There wasn't a lot of great gameplay in this episode.
For worst player, I got Alicia just for her micromanaging of the fire. There wasn't a lot of bad gameplay in this episode. So
I said Rupert just because he did lose his closest ally, and he was clued in on sending Rudy home, but absolutely refused to vote against him. He could have used this as the opportunity to say, okay, yeah, I will go with you guys. I understand your decision. I'm going to do it. Instead, we saw more of old Rupert, who refuses to abandon this undying loyalty. Exactly 1 episode after he said, I need to change. I need to do better. So I had Rupert.
The reason why I didn't go with Rupert, because I think that's fair, is he just caught a lot of fish for his tribe, which definitely boosts his standing. And then he was also part of the tribe that got Flint. So I think he had some good stuff in the episode too, but I do agree he had some bad stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that the positives outweigh a little bit more, so I'm going to go with Alicia here with Ryan.
I'm the best. All right, episode 3, Swimming with the Sharks. So Richard Hatch goes swimming. He gets bit by a shark. So he bites it back and catches it.
Classic.
Richard Hatch, shark hunter.
This is the kind of thing that happens in an anime. I just want to point this out. Yes, he is a cartoon character, and this doesn't happen in real life.
Nope.
This doesn't even happen in Survivor.
This is definitely one that you remember. I don't know if it's going to be the most memorable moment of the season, but it's definitely up there.
Early front runner.
Yes. It is the first to be mentioned.
And here's the second one, I think. Our reward challenge is going to be build a shelter. Here's some tools and stuff. You'll win tarp, a clue to your lockbox, a lantern, and some wine.
This is a great reward.
Second place will just get the clue. So you have to build a shelter, the nicest shelter you can. And we have freaking Boston Rob in the game, so you know it's going to be good.
He literally does this for a living. For those of you who don't know, he's in home construction.
Yep.
He does this.
Yep.
Sponsored by Home Depot.
Sponsored by Home Depot. And yeah, Shapiro wins thanks to Boston Rob's leadership. He just crushes this challenge out of the park. So one thing that does happen, though, while Shapiro's doing this is Rob Sesternino goes missing for a while, and we get a segment on how Rob is super lazy. And I've heard Rob talk about this, and he takes great issue with this. Because what actually happened is he had spotted, I believe it was some sort of pallet out in the woods, and he went to go find it and bring it back because, hey, that's a material we can use. Well, he gets it, and production tells him, yeah, you can't use it. You can only use on-island material, like natural stuff. So he wastes all this time to go get this material that they won't let him use, so he comes back, and it's just a bad look. Now, I know he explained it to them later. That's what actually happened, but Rob gets this whole segment about him. He's like, yeah, that was some BS. But that's Survivor.
He got in the edit.
You know, he had a whole season where everything he did was just glorious. Okay, here's a bit of an unfair edit for you, but, you know, it's going to happen.
The law of averages.
Law of averages.
What we don't know is that he was actually idle hunting.
Oh, wow. Played some real five each other.
He's so ahead of the curve.
Moga Moga ends up getting second place, where they build kind of a tree house kind of thing. And it's pretty cool, but Shapiro's is a mansion, so what are you going to do?
Yeah.
But I will say, bad job on Colby and Lex a little bit. They kind of ignore all of Sheehan's ideas. Granted, Sheehan's ideas are dumb. Yes, they are dumb, but they could have handled it better, but I feel like.
We actually saw a little bit of this on both tribes because Alicia was making like the rock garden and stuff like that and was like, yeah, well, you know, I'm just going to let the boys go ahead and construct their house and I'm just going to, I guess, do whatever I can do. If, you know, I'm just getting in their way. And she kind of rolls her eyes. So I'm like, but he does this for a living. I get that you want to help, but maybe they don't need 3 cooks in that kitchen at a time. Just let them do it. And that's fine, especially if he does this for a living. Come on. So they handled it certainly better than the group over at Moga Mogo.
I do want to give a little bit of advice on this challenge as consultants. I would sit the hell out of this challenge. If you can, do not compete in this one because all this does is it's such a long challenge. You know, it's over like a day. It's a lot of time to butt heads over something kind of stupid. So plenty of time for friction because in a normal challenge, it's so quick there isn't usually enough time for friction to build. So I'm sitting out. But if you have to compete and you're not someone who does this for a living, just sit back and follow all instructions. What should I do? What do you need me to do? What can I help with? Go to the leader and just be that, basically a servant.
Yeah.
Just do that and follow all orders. And that way you can't be on the hook for anything and no one's getting annoyed with you.
Absolutely.
But here we go. Another most memorable moment of the season, in my opinion, and one of my favorite moments of the season, Saboga. Rupert has also built houses for a living. Apparently, not very well. Because he wants to dig down into the beach and build like a bunker almost, an early spy bunker, if you will.
Because it'll be really eye-popping for whoever's coming to judge their shelter. They'll never see anything like this. You're right.
They won't.
Right. There is a reason for this. Hey, do you want to know why it became a beach? How does a beach become a beach? It's almost like water goes there. Why, in the name of Neptune, would you ever dig a hole on a beach?
It's iconic. And Jerry's like, this is the worst idea I've ever heard. Why are we doing this? I mean, am I crazy? Anybody else want to chime in here? And Ethan and Jenna don't say a word because they understand the big picture. Let them fight it out, and I'm just going to shut up, and who cares if we lose the reward?
I was like, we are probably going to lose this.
And that's fine. Ethan loves this. He's like, oh yeah, fight. Who cares? It's a reward challenge. Oh no, we can't get drunk on wine. Oh darn. Ethan's so good here. He's like, I don't kid, let him fight. Yes, this is music to my ears. But yeah, neither of them step in to help Jerry, even though she's 100% right. And I feel a little bad for her. But, just don't say anything. Let Rupert dig himself
literally
a bunker and drown.
And the problem is that Jenna and Jerry are not really, because they voted against Rupert, but there's no animosity towards Rupert. They know that he's a physical powerhouse. Why would you let your physical powerhouse spend all day digging an 8 foot by 8 foot by 3 foot deep hole? I've seen the movie Holes. All right, that was 5 foot by 5 foot, and those kids were tired, and there were blisters, and they're just letting them dig sand all day. You could have been doing anything else. This has got to be one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. Yeah, it's a reward challenge, and the implications are not far-reaching. But what a dumb decision. What? No, just no.
Yeah, and the judge, they bring in a local contractor from Panama, and he's just like, nope.
They're sitting there watching him write his notes, and he's just going, no. And Ethan's like, I don't think he likes it. Rupert's like, he doesn't look like he likes it. He's shaking his head no a lot. And then he's telling Jeff, like, no, water's going to go in there. This is a beach. Why would they do this? And Jeff's like, interesting. Interesting insight from a home building professional. Interesting.
Not going to spoil whether or not this is going to work out for them, but just interesting.
Put it this way, they do not win the challenge. I love this. This is like the best moment of the season for me, is Rupert just...
It's up there.
So good. Jenna Maraska has decided to quit the game because her mom has cancer. She'd been debating about coming out here and has decided she made the wrong decision and she should go back home. She's got a bad feeling and she wants to go be with her mom.
This is completely understandable.
Completely fair. No issues whatsoever. Go.
And it's not the last time that we have someone leave because of family members.
No, it is not. And in my opinion, like we discussed this with Austin, quit whenever you want. You can leave for any reason. You don't owe an explanation to anybody. But this is like the best reason ever.
Oh yeah, this is so much better than I don't really like it out here anymore. Oh, I'm hungry, or I'm just sick of this. I don't like these people. This is completely fine.
And I feel like I need to clarify my previous statements because I brought the hammer down on Austin really hard. I know about certain players in the future upon whom I will bring the hammer down on them hard as well for quitting the game. Jenna Maraska's mistake, if you want to call it that, was agreeing to come out. And I understand getting swept up in this idea of being a part of something that's bigger than yourself and trying to keep moving your life forward when certain parts of your life are falling apart, right? But ultimately, I think that she had her priorities mixed around a little bit, and she had no way to know that until she had accidentally made the wrong decision. It's kind of like that, flip a coin to decide, and then you'll find out that you made the wrong decision if you really dislike what the outcome is. Ryan, you do this to me all the time. Well, her flipping the coin was going out on Survivor, and from then on, she knew that she had made the wrong decision. So this is different. I think if you're leaving for family and you're leaving for something like truly life-related like this, where the mistake was going out there to begin with, yeah, you can't understand what her headspace was like, what her feelings were like, and how it was eating away at her. So this is completely understandable, and I think very different from Austin.
And to me, it doesn't matter if it's different from Austin's. It's go, just go. It's fine. Go, get out of here. Go home. It's totally fine. And she's 23, and you have a chance to play on Survivor again.
Yeah.
Of course, you're gonna say yes. Kathy refers. Jenna's been kind of in a funk about this, right? Kathy refers to Jenna's attitude as a cancer on the tribe. She knows Jenna's mom has cancer, and she still says that. Probably a slip of the tongue, maybe just didn't click. It is not a good look.
Nope. No, was this in confessional or
no?
This
was
to
her face.
This was almost,
to her face.
This was like halfway open form, and I mean, Jenna, you can tell that Jenna's kind of beside herself through this whole thing, this whole process, and she's like, "No, I totally get where you're coming from, Kathy," and it's like. It's so depressing to hear Jenna say, you're right. I understand that I'm a drain on the tribe. You don't need to tell somebody that.
Honestly, you can tell her to F off.
Yeah.
I would love that. Kathy deserves that. In fact, almost everybody on this season deserves that, because when we get to the challenge and Jenna tells everybody, a lot of them have opinions that they can shove right where the sun doesn't shine, as far as I'm concerned.
And honestly, I want to throw most of that hatred towards Jeff Probst. I get that Jenna's quitting and you want to get some good sound bites from the season, but you know that it's because of Jenna's mom. Jenna opened up and talked about why she was leaving. You don't need to ask every single person how they feel about it, because frankly, it's none of their damn business. And
Agreed.
Boston Rob says it best. He's like, this is none of our business. We can't pretend to be her, and we just need to support her. Boston Rob is the only one who got out of this. I don't want to say squeaky clean because it's a messy situation, but he's the only one who came across with any empathy in the situation.
Out of the people they talked to.
Out of the people that they actually showed. Big Tom did not look good.
No.
Because he said, I told my kids, if you die in a car accident, don't be contacting me while I'm out here. I'll go visit your grave when I get back. That's not something to put here.
Yeah, that's not a good look for Big Tom. Rupert says, like, I don't know if I would ever quit. And it's just like, who cares? F off.
It's a game.
Keep your goddamn opinions to yourself, as far as I'm concerned. The only one who says anything worth hearing is Rob. It's a really good look for Rob, I will say.
Yeah.
No one's business but Jenna's. Let's get her home and help however we can. And Jenna leaves, and her mom dies 8 days later. It's pretty heartbreaking. This is a sad story. It's super sad, and that's the end of the episode, that Jenna goes home. Pretty heartbreaking stuff. Best player of the episode. Let's go move on.
Moving on.
Tarek, who do you have for best player of the episode?
I said Boston Rob. He built a bomb shelter that won his tribe, one step closer to Rice. They get to live in this awesome shelter that's going to keep morale up. And considering that it was an all-day challenge, they stayed pretty good. And then he had a great confessional in regards to the Jenna situation. So,
See, I went with Ethan simply for allowing Jerry and Rupert to fight so much without stepping in, and just he understood the bigger battle beyond the reward challenge. That was his survival in the game, and he just let Rupert and Jerry go at it.
I will say he still is the winner, the existing winner on that tribe, and I don't think he necessarily bettered his position, but maybe just let everyone else lower themselves.
Sure.
And that's why I thought Boston Rob did a great job.
I think those are your two best choices that you can have here. I think I'm going to go with Boston Rob here. No immunity challenge to boost anyone up. No strategy, no tribal council. That really needs to come into play. So we're really looking at just how they come into play in confessionals and
Social
reward
politics
challenge.
pretty much is it.
Yep.
I think we will agree on this one, though, because my worst player is Rupert.
It's hands down Rupert.
He dug an 8 foot by 8 foot by 3 foot hole for no reason.
And he got into a fight with Jerry about it.
And he got into a fight.
And it turns out he was in the wrong. Everyone knows he's in the wrong. Rupert knows he's in the wrong. Yet he literally dug his heels in.
That was a great confessional, by the way, where Rupert basically says, "Oh, I've done it this time."
Yeah, I think the only other option could be Kathy, but it sounds like that was more just bad between her and Jenna. It's not actually going to tear her down in the game at
It
all.
has no effect on her game.
No.
Just as on her image.
Yep.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Kathy. You just tarnished your image for the first of many times this season.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 4, Wipeout, is a very good TV show. Very entertaining.
Yeah, when you're 12.
It's a fun show. Go to hell.
At 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
fun
fair.
show. It's like The Floor is Lava. Fun shows.
It's a fun show for like 10 minutes.
Okay, but the episode is really called Wipeout. So floods come in. Shapiro gets real flooded, but they're all in a nice shelter, and they're mostly fine. And Amber and Rob are just over there showmancing. Everything's good. Nowadays, don't showmance to get you voted out. But for whatever reason, it's not going to happen to Rob and Amber. I don't know why everybody just didn't take them out.
Early Survivor.
I can't prove this, but I have a feeling that this season is going to be why power couples become so damn taboo in the future. That's just my thought.
Yeah.
It's like no one realized how scared they needed to be of a power couple situation until this season.
Yeah. This season does have an impact on that level for sure.
Sounds like another reason why you should watch it.
I will say, we haven't really discussed this yet, but like this whole pre-merge is actually just like a Lifetime movie that's interspliced with some Survivor gameplay.
It's like basically the Blue Lagoon. It's about two people shipwrecked on an island who fall in love. And there's other people there, but, they're not important.
Survivor almost takes a back seat to Rob and Amber's developing relationship, and because of contracts, they have to visit other tribes sometimes.
There's other people there, but it's okay. They just like to watch.
And I will say, And I will say, it was my favorite part of the pre-merge was watching Rob and Amber's relationship develop. But that's just because I know Survivor Mythos, and I know that they have done it at least 5 times.
Rob and Amber are going to do it.
Rob and Amber are going to do it. And then Big Tom says something like, I saw them cuddling, and I know that Boston Rob ain't going to cuddle me like that.
So around Saboga, Rupert's shelter floods completely underwater. So they're all just like stranded. And Jerry's like crying.
And Jerry's sitting in the rain, like basically just this big leaf over her head, and she's like, I knew this was gonna happen.
It's not worth it.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Oh, good stuff. So we get to a reward challenge, which is the classic one from the Amazon where they have to mingle and like match items. Why don't they do this every season? This is a great challenge. It's really fun. I get some interaction between the tribes. This is fun.
Yeah.
Look at the fun they're having.
And they actually did seem to enjoy it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This was probably the lightest moment of the entire season.
Yes.
Shapiro wins, and that means they get the third clue to open their rice box. So Shapiro's got rice now.
And they kept it dry.
And they kept it dry.
So they have lots of rice.
And we're going to go right into the immunity challenge. Nothing else happens. We get a challenge that I think should be banned, personally, where they have the one person who is the caller, everyone else is blindfolded, and they have to go out and pick up these giant puzzle cube pieces, and they bring them back and solve a giant puzzle cube. These pieces are super heavy, and we see some people get their SHIT wrecked in this challenge. Big Tom, I swear that guy got a concussion.
Oh, he definitely got clocked in the jaw, and it was like the corner of the piece too. I don't know that it needs to be banned, but you need to have something in there, like maybe ropes or something, so like everyone stays at least in their lane. I love blindfolded challenges, but this one, the downside is just too big.
The blindfolded challenges can be run if there's no big heavy things in the mix.
Sure.
You just have to like navigate through a maze or something like that.
Have poles at the perfect height so it looks like they're getting hit in the nuts.
If you want to do this challenge, it's fine, but you can't have blindfolds. Like run out, get a big piece, bring it back. Next person goes, like relay style. You can't combine these two. This challenge, this incarnation of the challenge, which we will see again, is brutal. People always get hurt. It should be banned.
Yeah, I'm not looking for opportunities for people to get medevac from the game.
No.
I want people to leave the game under their own decisions and not because of something that happens in a dangerous challenge.
Yeah, and you want it to be challenging, but like Josh said, like don't make them hurt themselves. That's not why we're watching. That's why you watch Wipeout.
Yeah. Good reason for this challenge is to be called this episode to be called Wipeout. Sit out of this challenge if you can. If you're ever on a season, sit out of this challenge. Do not do it if you can. But Saboga ends up winning thanks to Jerry. Jerry gets a redemption because she was the caller back in the Australian Outback, and she lost. But she gets her redemption here. So good for Jerry.
And she beats through the puzzle portion of the challenge. Her spatial recognition was great.
Yeah. And Moga Moga gets second place. So Shapira is going to tribal council for the first time. And there's 3 people on the chopping block. Alicia, because of her attitude and just kind of being overbearing. Rob C, because he's such a big threat. And this is the only tribe that doesn't have any winners on it. But Rob C's the closest thing they got to a winner.
Yeah, because everyone pretty much agreed unanimously that Rob C should have won his season had he made it to the end.
Yes.
And that he was the best player.
Yeah. And then Sue, because she's been negative.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 on the chopping blocks. Amber is actually the one who makes the push to get Rob C out, which I did not remember. Amber's the one who seems to initiate this plan. Because Rob C is going to go here. And Amber's the one who starts this up. And they get like Big Tom on board and all this stuff. And it ends up being 5 votes for Rob and 1 vote for Alicia. Now, here's what it should have been. It honestly should have been Amber. Everybody else should have seen, oh, we have a showmance happening. Let's split that up. We'll obviously keep Boston Rob, but it should have been Amber. This season changes drastically.
And the entire just lore of Survivor changes drastically.
Yeah. Everything changes.
If you look at this particular vote using 40 seasons of collected data, Amber should have been the one to go home here. In the context of the first 8 seasons, I actually really understand. I don't like it because I love Rob C, but I understand why they sent him home. He had this reputation of being really strategic, always having his own agenda, flip-flopping, and not being loyal. Meanwhile, you've got Boston Rob, who I know is notorious for preaching loyalty, and Big Tom, who is, again, more of a loyal fellow, right? So, cut the wild card out, who, in my opinion, like, Sue or Rob C is going to be a wild card, but Rob is the more competent player of the two, you can just string Sue along, keep her as a number. She's also not high risk to flip or anything like that. So I think that for a tribe like this, it actually makes sense at the time to take out a Rob C, even though I'm typically in agreement of splitting up the power couple nowadays.
It's a good move, obviously, for Rob and Amber. But what we're looking for is the best optimal move for all 6 players. For the other 4, their best optimal move, even if they don't see it, is to vote out Amber. So that's why I'm kind of disagreeing with you.
Right, and that's why I say, like, 40 seasons of data collected, Amber is definitely the right move.
Well, even with 8 seasons of data collected, it's still the right move. That doesn't... The additional seasons just more confirm I'm right.
I just think that that's historical bias.
But it doesn't change the fact that it's still the right move. It's just more obvious.
I don't know. Josh, what are your thoughts on this, like, conundrum?
I think Amber is the right move. You kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You get rid of someone who is assumed to be maybe the weaker part of your tribe for challenges, and then the showmans. I think it's a little early to be super worried about Rob being flip-floppy and being more of a strategic threat. I think you can worry about that even on the very next vote, like if it would come to it, or just as you approach the merge a little bit on. Odds are, when you have this many people left, you're probably not going to have to worry about him lasting super long. You'll probably get another chance to vote him out. So I think that you can wait on him and go for Amber right now.
That's fair.
It's not like Rob just needs a challenge beast. You'll be able to get rid of him. So best of the episode I thought was Amber. She somehow not targeted, even though I thought she should have been. And she was the one who initiated the move against Rob C, which was the best move for her game. So I have Amber.
Wow, she did something.
I actually said Jerry. I love the redemption arc with her being able to come back and win the challenge, even though she lost it in the Outback. She kind of saved a floundering Saboga tribe from having to go back to Tribal Council for the 3rd time in a row, and is the only reason that they're going to be able to remain any kind of competitive going forward in this pre-merge. So I love that redemption for Jerry and the fact that she single-handedly won it for her tribe.
I'm going to go with Amber. Just a little more strategic side rather than the physical challenge side.
That's fine.
I don't have a worst player. I think everybody did fine.
I also had none. I wrote down that maybe Rob or Amber, and after listening to you talk about how Amber kind of saved herself, maybe Boston Rob, and I wrote down because you can't be so obvious about being a power couple. I know Rob had said, we can't seem like we're together, but he kind of, they both kind of abandoned that and stopped hiding it. So
yeah, I agree with you. I thought that going into this episode because they're so obvious that they're showmans, everyone knows, but it doesn't matter because they controlled the vote and picked exactly who went home. So
right.
You almost can't give them worst player.
And that's why I said none, but I did just write down like this was my thought process for picking none. But like, how do you pick one? So I don't know.
I think it would make sense to give it to Rob. I mean, I know I didn't watch the episode, but just hearing what you're saying, like, there's so many people left in the game that's really hard to say none for. So
I'm
obviously,
okay.
Obviously, I did not watch it, and you guys both said none, so I will go with none.
Yeah, I'll keep it at none.
I'll keep it at none. I have lost my winner pick. Rob Siciliano's gone. Ugh, so depressing. And he's never playing again, and it's so depressing.
Oh no, a player that you really like is gone really early in the pre-merge. Oh no, gosh, golly darn gee whiz.
I will say that it is a shame that he has not played again.
It is. It really is a shame.
Is that his doing, or?
He was asked for Blood versus Water, but his wife was pregnant at the time. I don't think he's been asked apart from that. He was almost on The Amazing Race last season for like the Big Brother versus Survivor versus The Amazing Race. Yeah. He and Stephen Fishback were going to do it together.
Aww.
But Fishback, it was going to be over his wedding, and Fishback decided no because he wanted to get married. So they were almost on that season. And Rob wasn't too burnt out about it. He's like, oh, we would have been terrible. We would have been first out.
I hope that he plays again at some point.
For a while, he said he didn't want to, but now he's like, I could use a vacation for my kids. So I think he would be open to it, but at the same time, he's got a podcast to run.
Yeah.
So, I feel like it'd be really tough for him to do well.
He knows everyone, and everyone knows him. So there's 2 types of people. People who want to work with Rob and people who want to take him out.
Modern Survivor players.
You're probably going to take him out.
But a lot of them are friends with him, so I feel like a lot of them would be like, I just want to work with Rob because this is so cool.
It would be, I'm going to be in an alliance with Rob for like a little bit of the pre-merge, and then once we start getting too close, it's gonna be like, I'm gonna take him out now.
See, if I was working with Rob, I want to get him to the jury just because I want him to be on the jury because I love Rob. And I'm like, all right, bye, Rob. I'm going to go win this thing.
Second boot out of the merge.
Yeah, get into second jury member. But I have to pick a new winner pick. So I picked Rupert, and I still kind of like this pick because, yeah, he had his low point where he screwed up in the shelter, and I thought that might be like a moment of clarity for him. Or be like, oh, I can make a mistake. I did something very dumb. I will do better from now on. So I was hoping for a kind of a redemption arc from Rupert. We don't ever get it. But that was kind of my thought process picking Rupert. So Rupert is my new winner pick.
Oh, I hate that pick so much. But, hey, your winner pick, man.
And this is when I was a kid.
Yes.
Yeah. I still think it's an okay pick. I mean, looking at it now, Boston Rob might seem kind of obvious, but again, the whole showman's thing worries me. Just trying to be as unbiased as possible. So that worries me. Moga Moga is a weird tribe. I don't even know what to do with them.
Yeah.
Fair.
Who's left on Saboga? I'm not picking Jerry or Jenna or Ethan, obviously. That leaves Rupert. There's limited options here.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's basically between Rob and Rupert, and just the whole showman's thing scares me.
Yeah.
So, Rupert, I don't love it, but it's where I go. Episode 5, I've been bamboozled. So, the reward challenge is the tribes each have to build their own raft. Moga Moga doesn't want to. So they just kind of lump all their sticks together into a pile, and that's their raft.
I definitely remember that.
They get first place. It's a raft race challenge, and Moga Moga wins with their just piece of crap raft.
It's a stick. Just a bunch of sticks.
It's just a bunch of sticks. But the twist with this challenge is third place gets dissolved into the other two tribes. So Shapira gets second place, Saboga gets third. Saboga, kind of the crappy tribe, they're getting dissolved. They get a schoolyard pick. Since Moga Moga won, they get first pick, and then Shapira, the Moga Moga, the Shapira.
And Moga Moga picked Ethan first because they wanted to be able to control Ethan's destiny. They wanted to be able to send him home right away if they wanted to, but they wanted him on their tribe.
He's also really good in challenges.
Yes.
So I think Ethan is a good pick. Very strong pick. And then Shapira's going to go next, and obviously take Rupert, also a very strong pick.
Yep.
And Moga Moga takes Jerry, much to Colby's chagrin.
I can't believe that Colby didn't veto this, but
Jerry is better in challenges than Jenna.
yes.
And the Shapira gets stuck with Jenna.
But we're getting the gang back together.
Yep. And because they won their reward, Moga Moga gets the last key to the rice box. Unfortunately, they did not keep the box dry.
So they lose like 3/4 of it.
Yeah. Moga Moga is the laziest tribe ever. They just do not give a crap.
Which is funny because Kathy's on this tribe, and Kathy was like the workhorse in Marquesas.
Lex was a hard worker. Colby was a hard worker. None of them care.
It's like, well, I think just none of them want to turn into that bossy alpha. So we see a lot of what was going on in the Amazon on the women's tribe at the beginning, where nobody wants to be the leader and no one wants to draw that target on their back. So you got all these big players who are like, I am strong enough to withstand this nonsense. I will not get voted out. So that's why Moga Moga is so weird, because all of these people are not themselves, which to their credit, but also to their detriment.
It kind of sucks because Moga Moga, I think on paper, was the most exciting tribe going in, and they're kind of lame.
Yeah.
But we get Ethan and Richard getting in a full-blown fishing competition, or Ethan catches a fish, but then Richard catches fish, a lot of them.
Yeah, fish, plural. So Ethan catches fish, singular, and then Richard catches fish, plural. And
Kind of the same thing as Rupert.
Yeah, but Ethan at least caught one.
Yes.
And then we have the fateful moment with our immunity challenge. It's the classic attack zone challenge with balance beams. Fun challenge, they're throwing people into the water. Fun stuff.
You might remember Rob with 2 Bs grabbing Clay by the neck and throwing him off the wooden plank.
This will also be a very memorable incarnation of this challenge for the wrong reasons. Because Richard runs this challenge naked, as he runs every challenge. And during it, he rubs up against Sue. It's very quick in the episode, and kind of like on the rewatch, surprisingly, like we're done. We move past it.
Yeah, the edit makes it, and let me emphasize, the edit makes it seem very innocuous, because it is just kind of a blow-over moment where it's like, Richard. Classic Richard doing weird.
Yep. And it's not until the next episode where this really blows up. Yeah, so Richard rubs his penis against Sue. I'm going to call a spade. This is sexual assault. If this was in the real world, Richard probably would have been arrested for this. Now, a lot of people would say, like, oh, he probably didn't have malicious intent. That could be true. It doesn't matter, because he still committed sexual assault. That's what it is. It sucks. It's awful. I can totally understand why Richard never plays again. Because of this moment. I know there was some sort of lawsuit and settlement involving all this. This sucks. This is the worst. This is one of the worst moments in Survivor history, and it's going to blow over into the next episode even more so. And I don't know what else to say. This sucks.
And it really sucks just because Richard is basically was this basically icon for Survivor. And I mean, even like today, like you see reasonings of why he wasn't invited back for Winners at War. I don't know if it's a whole combination of a bunch of different things, but this is probably one of them.
And I can't blame Survivor for not inviting him back.
Oh, no, absolutely not. And I remember seeing a few videos from Richard basically saying, like, oh, they don't want to invite me back for X, Y, and Z. Well, maybe you don't do this.
I'll just say, maybe reason X is reason enough, especially on the heels of season 39.
Especially.
And not that should ever play a factor into it, but if all of a sudden you are going to prove that you are sensitive to the topic and you're making a change, this is a really simple change to make, assuming that he was ever considered for the cast list of season 40. I want to go back because, I mean, obviously really bad on Richard. Obviously, don't even need to say it. If you could go back as production, Jeff, Richard, put your pants on. You're going to be in close contact with people. Richard, put your pants on. We did get Jeff saying something to him like, come on, Richard, there's no place for that. It's really simple. I get it. You don't want to limit these people because the idea is to drop them on an island or in the Sahara Desert. Not
Whatever.
actually, but drop them somewhere and let them make their own decisions. This is what we get.
This is what we get, and it sucks. It sucks. We'll get more into this in the next episode, unfortunately, but it's what happens. Anyway, Rob destroys everyone at this challenge because he's just a boss, and Shapiro wins. So over on Moga Moga, Colby, his plan is to get rid of Richard. That's the plan. They want to get rid of the winner. Everyone wants the shot at Richard. And Richard finds out about this, and he's like, okay, let's do a counter-strike and take out Colby. What's going to happen to the Moga Moga tribe in general is all the big threats are going to self-destruct and take themselves out. We're going to get a lot of that. Moga Moga shoots themselves in the foot. They really do. They do this to themselves. All of their wounds are self-inflicted. And this was completely preventable. We're going to end up getting 6 votes for Richard, 1 vote for Colby. Kathy and the women were kind of the swing vote. This should have been Jerry. You get a dissolve situation, right? You bring in 2 new people. You just met them. There's some bad blood between some of them, but you have your 5. Take them out. You bring Richard Hatch to the merge. He's a huge meat shield. Ethan is far better at challenges than Jerry. Also a huge meat shield. What is Jerry going to do for you? Nothing. Jerry should have been gone here, and this is extremely bad move for Moga Moga.
And mix that with the former bad blood with Colby, and it's just good for chemistry. I am all for burying the hatchet, mind you. Whenever you can move forward from something bad and build it into something positive and constructive, yeah, go forward with that. Do that. Love that plan. But the situation for Jerry and Colby to do that would be if they landed on the beach together, not in a dissolved tribe situation where one tribe has been alone for 2.5 weeks, building a bond, and Jerry gets dropped in there. Jerry is the right move here, and it's not even a question. So
it's too late for the burying the hatchet. It's too late.
Yes, and just bad on Moga Moga all around here.
So, Derek, who do you have for best player of the episode?
For episode 5, I wrote Boston Rob, because he went full beast mode on his challenge and won that key challenge the first time after an initial tribe swap. It allows him and his group more time to solidify new social bonds and figure out strategies of what to do with the vote going forward. So Boston Rob.
I'll agree with that, and honestly, even I'd almost say more importantly is the dissolve. They survived the dissolve.
Yes.
That could be a crushing blow to your game if you get dissolved, and they don't really do this anymore.
Yeah.
But, when you have 4 people getting dissolved and you survive that, that's huge for your game. So good for Shapiro, good for Moga Moga for surviving that. But then Rob, they get Rupert, which is a huge get. They win the immunity challenge. They have this chance to bond. It's a great episode for Rob.
Yep.
I also agree with you guys. Good job. Also good on the people who were dissolved for not getting voted out.
That's true. None of the dissolved got voted out. So
Yeah.
It's something.
For my worst, I had Colby. Why in the heck are you gunning for Richard Hatch when you have a weak dissolved tribe member? Easy pickings, low-hanging fruit. I think we got too fancy and we ultimately played ourselves. He painted a target on his back for absolutely no reason, got rid of a great meat shield to have at the merge. The only positive about voting out Richard Hatch right here is something that they could never have known, and it's that he was not standing on the beach in the next episode. That is literally the only thing. Like, I think that from a life perspective, right, the bigger picture, the right person went home here.
Sure.
The game got rid of Richard Hatch. I mean, honestly, 1 episode too late, but, like, he's gone at least for the next episode,
Sure.
and that's good. But from a game standpoint, it didn't make sense for them.
Rich should have been on that beach in the next episode. I don't even want to know.
I don't want to know either.
Oof. But yeah, no, Colby is the worst player. Colby also kind of seized control of his tribe, and that pissed a few people off. Kathy in particular, Sheehan, none of them liked that Colby kind of wrestled the control of the tribe. And, doing that too soon is a recipe for disaster.
And also, he fell into his own trap because none of the big names on this tribe had been taking control at all. And he chooses this moment to do... Why?
And that isn't something he really did his first time playing.
Right.
Tina was kind of the one who did it, and he was just there. He was her partner.
Yeah.
Well, and especially for big threats like that, someone like your Colby, stay under the radar right now. You can make these moves later if you really want to, but don't give people reasons to vote you out.
He needed to pull the Tony Vlachos and get the big threats together.
Yeah,
the
or
Lions.
You need bigger threats than you around.
Colby is also part of the Moga Moga tribe that got the box wet.
Yes.
Part of the rice. Another bad thing. So Colby's the worst player of the episode. Richard Hatch is going to go to prison for tax evasion, and he's not going to play Survivor again. Invited a couple of times, though. But
I'm glad he doesn't play.
He was under house arrest, and the judge would not let him go. I think he was invited for Heroes
versus Villains. I can
and
see that.
It was a Redemption Island. He was also supposed to be one of the captains of Redemption Island as well. Episode 6, Outraged, which is, in my opinion, the worst episode of Survivor besides the stuff that happens in Island of the Idols. Up until season 39, and this is the low point of Survivor, in my opinion. Because this episode is just miserable to sit through. So, over on Moga Moga, Kathy, Shannon, and Jerry, they all want to take out Colby next. But Kathy doesn't want to betray Lex because she and Lex are super tight. That's kind of why she didn't end up doing the Colby plan, was because she didn't want to stab Lex in the back, because that relationship is important to her. Okay, fair enough. But Sheehan decides to go and confront Colby, because Colby said something at Tribal Council about how there's kind of a lot of almost slackers in this game, people who don't have to make big decisions. And Sheehan's like, I feel like you were talking about me. Colby's like, well, yeah, I was, because you don't have to make any moves in this game, and I don't respect that type of gameplay. Oof, big oof. This is bad on both of them. Shan, let it go. You don't need to confront people about this. Colby, what are you thinking? This is horrific gameplay on both of their parts.
Remember what I said earlier in this podcast about making sure if you close a door, you open a window? No, this is called closing the door, locking the window. You are never, ever going to have a perfectly good working relationship with Sheehan again. Because why would she want to have that with you? Now, if I'm her, I would have one thing in my mind. I want to vote Colby out because... then I've done something.
Yeah, no, this is absolutely right. Shan should take out Colby because this is someone who's not really up for working with her.
Yeah.
But still, don't confront people about this kind of thing.
Right.
Just vote them out.
Yeah.
So on Shapiro, Sue starts to spiral because reality of what has happened, especially because it happened on national television, is sinking in. So she's not handling it well, which is completely fair because this sucks and this is horrific.
Yep.
So Alicia comforts her about it. Alicia's very good here. She's very supportive of Sue. Mm-hmm. Can't say that for the rest of the tribe. We get some really ugly comments from Big Tom, Rob, and Rupert.
Yep.
And it's not fun. It is not fun at all. This sucks to sit through. And later we get some really bad ones from Kathy as well.
Yeah.
We want to talk about tarnishing reputations. Congratulations. You just did.
This is... honestly, I would say... even if you're watching the pre-merge, if you want to understand the historical context, you need to watch this episode. But if you don't want to feel badly, just don't watch this episode. I wouldn't mind if this was stricken from the record, but I understand not wanting to censor it because it is a part of Survivor's past, and they are trying to do better nowadays by all accounts, and good for them for that. But if you're a player and this kind of thing is happening, Boston Rob said a lot of things here that do not age well. He did say one thing that was okay-ish, and it's when he said, when you're confronted with something like this, and you need to err on some side of, are they playing it up for the game, or are they genuinely distraught, you always need to err on the side of life, on the fact that this really is tearing them up inside. And that's the only thing that I think you can even, as a show editor, tie in on this. Be like, okay, we're surrounded by liars, we're surrounded by manipulators, everyone's going for $1 million, and this thing is happening over here. If this is you on Survivor, I think that the out-of-game implications of assuming that this is strategy are way worse than winning $1 million. Some things are simply not worth the money, and this is one of them.
See Island of the Idols.
See Island of the Idols.
Janet, Elizabeth, Missy, all of that stuff, all the different choices and decisions that were made there. You want to be the Janet in that situation.
I will go on record and say the most depressed, because Ryan had prepped me for this moment. I had known that this was coming. He didn't want me to go in blindly, which, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. Was the comment from Boston Rob where he said, I genuinely don't know if people would use this type of thing to advance themselves in the game. I immediately texted Josh and Ryan and said, I can't believe season 39 proved Boston Rob right. That sucked. And it's all the more reason that I really don't like season 39, basically the entire middle portion of it. So this it's mighty uncomfortable, and all I can say is, I mean, this isn't even something you can consult. Just be a good person. Just be kind, be empathetic. It doesn't cost you anything to be a good person. So Alicia was good for trying to console. Ultimately, I don't think there was any sort of consolation they could have offered.
No.
And why would there be?
There isn't. All you can do is support.
Yeah.
All you can do. And this sucks.
Yep.
What else is there to say?
Derek said it all.
So, Jerry, she's annoying Kathy and Sheehan by talking about food. We've said it before. We said it again. Do not talk about food on Survivor. A lot of people hate that.
Classic Jerry talking about food. I'm going to play a different game. Proceeds to talk about food.
But she does make an alliance with Lex, which, that's always good. Make more alliances. Lex is a great person to be in an alliance with until he's not. But Lex, meanwhile, catches a bunch of fish because, lo and behold, Lex is an amazing fisherman. And he's just played that card close to the vest this whole time. Now that Richard's gone, might as well whip out the old spear.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if this is probably actually a great move by Lex to not have that out there until Richard is gone, because Richard could target you.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, we don't need another fisherman. I'm the fisherman here.
Don't want to threaten Richard.
Yep.
Yeah, for as long as this tribe decided to keep Richard around, just stay out of Richard's crossfire, because you never know how many other votes that other people might just go along with him just because, like, let him think he has some power, whatever. You can take out Lex. This reminded me of Tony Vlachos not telling anybody that he was a cop at first. Like, this is something I can just keep. This is mine. I'm gonna keep it for a while.
We get to the reward challenge, and this is where Sue decides to quit the game. She yells at Jeff a lot. It's uncomfortable, but she leaves. And I don't really want to say anything else about it, except this sucks.
It sucks, and I get it.
Yeah, 100%.
I understand why she would leave the game, and I understand why she would never come back. I get it. Some things are bigger than the game of Survivor, and I think this was perfectly understandable, and it sucks.
They do the reward challenge anyway. Jeff offers them, hey, you can all just split the reward and hang out, or you can compete. And Jenna Luce is like, yeah, let's just all hang out. And everybody else is like, no, let's compete. Let's play a challenge. And Jenna's like, I don't know. And everybody else kind of just shuts her down. No, let's play. But Moga Moga wins reward, a bunch of fruit and stuff. Immunity challenge gets canceled. The last couple of things for the episode is Shapira. They all decide to make a final 6 deal together. Shapira to the end. She Red Strong. But within that final 6, Rob and Amber have a final 4 deal with Jenna and Rupert. So Rob and Amber, and even Rupert and Jenna, they're playing this pretty smart. Mm-hmm. They're in the top 4 of 6. And that's a good spot to be. But the last thing that happens in this episode is Tom does a song and a dance about Sue being gone, and it's very, very ugly.
Yep.
And Alicia doesn't like it at all, so another point for Alicia.
Yep.
Tom, don't ever play Survivor again.
Yeah.
When we were giving endorsements about Tom coming back, that was from the context of having only seen him in season 3.
Yep.
And this is why he shouldn't play Survivor
Ever.
again.
So this episode sucks, but I still do have a best player for the episode, and I think it's Lex, because he catches so much fish, and he has a new alliance with Jerry.
I literally just said none. This is more of like me taking a personal stand that when something like this happens in an episode of Survivor, I don't think I should feel good when it's over, and therefore I'm not really rating something as a good. And that's just a personal thing for me. I did pick a worst player because, believe it or not, you can have crappy things come out of this. And you know what, Tom? I don't care if you don't like Sue. You don't do a little jig and sing a little song because someone was assaulted and decided to leave the game. I think that is probably one of the worst moments in Survivor history. Like the thing to happen to Sue, and then that's eating bad food and then having a really crappy aftertaste that just lingers. So Big Tom is worse for me. It was hard for me to watch.
Completely fair. I kind of stay away from that element of worst player.
Yeah.
Because, if we want to talk worst person, yeah, we'll go ahead and throw that at Tom.
Yeah.
But for just pure gameplay, I picked Colby just for the way he kind of disrespected Sheehan. What are you doing, dude?
And with that lens, I get it.
So
Yeah, Lex makes sense for best, and I'd say Colby for worst. I think Ryan's got it.
That's
but
fair.
I can't fault you for your decisions at all, Derek. And I just like if I was going to just like not do anything for an episode, this is like the one.
Yeah.
But this is my third time watching this episode,
Right?
And so it's like, well, I know what's happening. So I just tried to hyper focus on the actual strategic moves. It's like, who is the best and worst in an episode where no one goes to tribal council? Maybe nobody, but that's what I hyper focused on.
Yeah,
this time.
and for me, it was like, this was my first time watching it, so I almost felt like I would like experiencing it for the first time. If I don't put life above the game this time, it just wouldn't feel right to me. So
and that's 100% fair, and I don't follow you at all.
Let's
move on.
Let's move on.
That sucked.
That sucks.
Episode 7 is Sorry I Blew It. Jerry is lazy, annoys her tribe. So welcome back to season 2, everybody. She and Sheehan get into a big argument because Jerry kind of just sucks at Survivor. Don't argue with people. It's not good. And we've said this before.
Yep.
But we get a reward/immunity challenge, and this is a big one because it includes a kidnapping. It's a tough challenge, and it ends up coming down to like Rob and Ethan in a big hero race through the jungle and untying some knots. And Rob comes from behind and wins it for Shapira, so they end up kidnapping Kathy, and Kathy gets to skip tribal council. So Mogo Mogo's going, sans Kathy, but everybody else is in trouble.
Now, I want to say, I don't think I've seen a kidnapping quite like this before. We saw one in season 7 where Rupert got kidnapped. But have we ever seen kidnapped for a vote? Was Rupert kidnapped for a vote?
Yeah, he was.
Do we ever see this again? Because
Yes, we do.
Because I like this. I'm glad it doesn't happen every season, but I do like it when we get it because it gives a choice to the winning tribe that could have very far-reaching implications.
No, I'm a fan of the kidnapping. I like this twist, and we don't do it enough. We did it something similar in Ghost Island, where for the first 3 episodes of Ghost Island, the person who got sent to Ghost Island didn't vote either. And then after the 3rd episode, it was just like, oh, you're going for the day, and then you'll go vote. But I really like this, where one person just gets removed from the vote.
It's like safety without power that you don't control.
Maybe that's a twist we could throw into a game. If we're going to workshop a new twist idea, maybe like the Kidnap Idol. You play it at the end of an immunity challenge, and you pull one player from the other tribe. They don't get to go to. You get to save one person, and they come and join your tribe for a night.
Yeah,
that's a twist. That's something we could do.
And I would be on board with that.
So Jeff Probst, if you're listening, let's do the Kidnap Idol, or I don't know what else you could call it. The lasso, the golden lasso for Wild Wild West. Survivor 41 Wild Wild West. I'm gonna play the golden lasso and kidnap someone of my tribe.
Love it.
Boom. But yeah, they bring Kathy over, and she seems to give quite a bit of info away. But the one interesting element here is Boston Rob and Kathy have played together, and they get along pretty well.
Because Kathy was the one that he had treated with when they had I don't know if it was like the merge meeting or something like that.
The summit.
The summit. I was trying to think who was the right choice. And I almost think that for that reason alone, Kathy was a perfectly fine choice. But do you try and pick the person that you think is most likely to go home and try to throw a wrench into their plans? Or do you try and pick a power player to make sure that if you are someone with a big target on their back, that you're keeping a meat shield around for the future? What do you guys think?
I think that this is definitely the right move. I think you take the person who you think would be able to give you the most information, because you can always just assume. You can assume who's going to be the next one to go home, and like you said, throw a wrench in their plans. But if you can't really predict that, grab someone who you might be able to make an alliance with later on in the game, whether it's at the merge or a tribe swap or whatever. Someone who you might be able to build a relationship with, like this, where Rob and Kathy have worked together. And Rob has been in this exact situation with Kathy before, where she gave him a ton of information when they played together.
This is the correct move for Rob, 100%. I think generally, like as a tribe unit, I think maybe Jerry might be the right way to go. Someone who's seemingly a minority and then the weaker of the two between Jerry and Ethan. I think Jerry would have been probably the optimal pick, but I don't hate the Kathy pick at all.
Yeah.
Over on Mogo Mogo, Colby and Ethan want to get rid of Jerry. I mean, fair, especially for Colby. But Lex and Jerry, they want to get rid of Colby because Lex is pulling a real Colby and wants to make a power move to seize control and get rid of a giant threat. Have we learned nothing?
The classic pre-merge, get rid of the challenge, threat, big move thing.
So she ends the swing vote.
How
do we get here?
When we talk about closing doors and slamming windows and locking them, well, if you close the door on a boat and close the window on a boat, and then someone shoots a hole in your boat, you sink and you drown. Congratulations, Colby.
Yeah, Colby shot himself in the foot. His life is in the hand of Sheehan. Well, good night, Colby.
Why you don't do this? I will say, if I'm being completely unbiased, I thought more about it, but I did message Josh and Ryan initially after this episode and said I liked the move for Lex to take out Colby now, because I don't think that Lex is considered as big of a threat as maybe I thought he was, and so it's okay to try and time a merge a little bit and start to think about the advancement of your game. It's not like this is a Big Tom or a Rupert protecting a Colby, or a Richard Hatch protecting a Colby. I didn't put Lex up in that upper tier of threat, and that's why I was okay with it. But, and there's a huge but on this, you still want some sort of tribe unity going in where you only need to pull over one person, and now you still have Jerry and Ethan who have no real loyalties to you. Jerry seems to, I suppose, but I don't know. Ryan, what do you think?
I think Jerry's the correct person to go home overall. Obviously, Colby and Ethan want Jerry. I think Lex should have stuck with them because those are people who will work with him and probably won't betray him.
Yeah.
So I think Jerry is the correct move for going into the merge. Yeah, Colby's a huge threat. You could deal with that later. There's other big threats in the game. You're putting the cart before the horse and thinking too far ahead.
Mm-hmm. Odds are Colby's not going to win every single challenge.
Right. Cheyenne, who is the swing vote, makes the right move for her game. Colby's someone who will not work with her. She and Jerry don't necessarily get along, but they have worked together in the past. It's kind of a toss-up for Cheyenne, but technically I think she makes the right move. But Cheyenne should never have had this much power. Lex should have stuck with Colby and Ethan to get rid of Jerry. But it's going to be 3 votes for Colby, 2 votes for Jerry. Colby's out of the game.
Rip.
So long, Cowboy. Derek, who do you got for best player?
I had Boston Rob. I don't really have a good reason. I didn't feel like there's a lot of great gameplay in this episode anyway, but I feel like he's still just in a power position on his tribe, and their tribe keeps rolling, and they have the solid 6, and I do think that he drove the decision to pick Kathy, and he's leaning on that prior season relationship. So overall, I just gave it to Boston Rob.
I agree. Plus, he was in the hero spot up against Ethan. Came from behind to win this huge challenge.
That's right. Yeah, because they had to go out and run into the jungle, and Ethan was way ahead.
And the reward was they got to go on like a cruise and just have an awesome night.
Yeah.
Huge reward, huge immunity. Got some information. Great episode for Rob.
Sounds like you guys made a great decision. I agree.
Thanks, Josh. Worst player?
I had Ethan, but the reason I had Ethan is because I think he's definitely next on the chopping block on his tribe now. And he was on the wrong side of the vote to boot. When you're in that dissolved tribe position like a Jerry somehow found herself on the right side of the numbers and in the know. And Ethan, I think, and understandably, I get it, he was like, hey, look at Colby's offering me another lifeline to hang around, and Jerry's got to go home. But I do think that he gambled, it didn't pay off, and now he's in the worst. I can see where maybe a Lex would be worse off here.
See, I can't even blame Ethan too much. Like, who could have thought that Lex wouldn't go with Ethan?
Yeah.
They played together in Africa.
Right.
They're super good friends.
They're really good friends.
But the worst player, I think, is Jerry. She annoyed her tribe, like, a lot. She was lazy, and she was fighting with Cheyenne. Yeah, she didn't go home here, but I don't think that was anything to do with her, and it was everything to do with Lex.
And all I can say about that is it's the classic, like, we need to lean on the relationship that she made with Lex. Even if she is just a number for Lex right now, there are no idols in this game. There are no advantages in this game. All she can do as the member of a dissolved tribe is to be somebody's number for long enough to make it to a merge or a swap. And that was why I gave it to Ethan, because I felt between Jerry and Ethan, he was in a worse position of the two.
I think I'm going to go with Ethan.
Thank you.
I think it is close.
It's a game of margins.
Yeah, and if you want to pick something out of it, Jerry and Colby never really got along. So, plus to Jerry there.
Yeah, that's true. This is good for Jerry's game, getting rid of Colby.
Yeah.
So, you have a good point there. I can't argue too much. So, Colby does play again. Are you guys excited? Do you want him to come back? He did play a different game this time.
He did.
It was a bad game.
Yeah, third time's a charm, maybe? Sure. I'm going to go with sure. It's back to the low expectations thing, where I'd be okay with it, but I'm going to have low expectations. Do I think there would probably be better options? Probably, but I guess I'm not going to be extremely upset by it.
This turns into a what have you done for me lately type of situation for me. I would not be excited to see Colby again on paper, assuming that like the next returner season isn't like season 9 or 10 where you don't have a chance to get a bunch of new people in, right? Because I mean, game changers and second chances were pretty close to one another as well. You don't have time to develop new people. Colby, I'm learning more and more from this season, heavily relied on Tina for social and strategic decisions. And this time he did not have that partner in crime, at least that trustworthy partner in crime, and made a ton of mistakes, shot himself in the foot, ultimately went home And I don't need to see someone dominating individual immunity challenges again and again and again. Frankly, that's tired. It's boring. It's done. I don't like it. I don't need to see Colby again because now I think I've seen how he can play in all the different facets. And that's no diss to him. I would just rather see somebody new get a try at being a returning player or somebody new get their first shot.
I'd be okay with Colby coming back, but I could take it or leave it. It's fine. I mean, I don't dislike Colby. I think he's fine.
Yeah.
Got some good confessionals. But I do think this is a good, more proof that Tina was the deserving winner of Australia.
Yeah.
And this is a point in Tina's favor. I do kind of want to see Colby make it to the end again and see if he can do a better job at the final Tribal Council.
Redemption.
Let's see what happens when Colby actually tries to win the game. That could be fun.
New second chances.
Episode 8 is Pick a Tribe Mate. We start a reward challenge, and the winner gets to steal 3 items from the other tribe. Kind of the Pearl Island situation again. Shapiro wins. Jenna Lewis comes in to take stuff, but she brings them some toiletries, like toothbrush, toilet paper, just some like basic stuff to try and like keep the peace. And I think that's really good for Jenna. Whoever was going to come over, like, here's a couple stuff we don't really need. And yeah, this is a game mechanic. We don't necessarily want to do this. We have to. So here's some stuff to keep the peace. This is great. This is great.
It's the right move.
Yeah, always good to make friends.
Yep. You never know who will be useful to you.
Who knows? Something as simple as that could swing a jury vote in the end.
Sure. Rob and Amber, they're kissing. It's getting hot and heavy in here.
Is this the episode where he's like, Amber, she's pretty slamming?
I think so.
That was a great... She's smart. She's got a great personality. She's got a nice ass. She's slamming. Again, this is a Lifetime movie that's got some Survivor elements to it.
Was this the first kiss?
Yeah, I believe that's the first one we saw.
The first shown kiss,
Yep.
yes.
So cute.
Aww.
So Rupert's out fishing, and he catches a bunch of fish. Boston Rob decides to go fishing and catches just as much. They don't really need Rupert, do they?
He goes back to one of his classic Marquesas-level confessionals where he's like, you only need one of the two, Rupert or the fishing spear. And the fishing spear don't eat no rice. So his stock is falling, and I'll get rid of him whenever I want.
It's a good confessional. It's very good confessional.
It's great.
It's good to see that people don't rely so heavily on the provider role now.
Yeah, especially when there's more than one provider.
Yeah, and it is something that's always relevant. Like, you want people to get you food, but as long as it's not a massive drop in production, maybe we don't need them.
And also for the first time in this moment, we get a confessional from Rupert with some negative things to say about Boston Rob, which we really haven't seen. He's like, sometimes I really like this kid. But other times he just kind of comes across as like a pretentious, douchey asshole.
Kind of like a jackass.
And I'm like, probably fair on all accounts.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're probably not wrong.
As long as you don't say that to his face, which we have no evidence of having it happened. Yep. I love that he vented to the camera, but we're starting to get a little bit more of that, I don't want to say like villainous, but more of a complete picture of who Rob Mariano is.
Yeah, he's not a hero.
Yeah.
So we go to our immunity challenge, which is the classic weapons demonstration. And it ultimately comes down to Rob versus Jerry, and Rob wins because it's Boston Rob. Of course he wins.
Also, it's really crappy bow with really crappy arrows, and that's just a crapshoot.
Yeah, nobody's very good at this. The only one who does anything is Rob this whole time. But Moga Mogo, classic Moga Mogo, is going back to Tribal Council.
Poor guys.
What is this, the third time in a row?
Yeah, if you think of actual tribals. Yeah,
actual tribals. So Lex does a classic Lex move and tells Ethan he's going home. Lex said, you learned nothing.
I actually was like, oh boy. Okay, so I didn't mind the Colby move, but here we are, right back in Africa, where Lex is like, I just need to tell him. I need to tell him that they're going home. I need to explain why. I really like them as a person, and I just couldn't live with myself if I didn't tell them. Lex, this is the wrong move.
This is what should be happening. We have our 3 Moga Mogos who are tight. We got Lex, Kathy, and Sheehan. They have a very tight alliance. We've seen that. Okay. Ethan and Jerry, one of those two is going. Nobody is close with Jerry besides Lex. Everyone likes Ethan, Lex included, and can work with Ethan. He's a useful person to have around because he's a meat shield. Jerry is loyal to Lex, and that is it. Kathy and Sheehan alone should want to get rid of Jerry, and Lex should just hop on board. Ethan should not even be in the conversation for going home. It is Jerry.
And the only reason he is because he's a winner.
Yes. Jerry is the only person who should go here. Ugh.
Is Lex just too nice? Yes. Or he has something in him that he needs to be liked by everybody. So he feels the need to actually say to them like, hey, you're going home. I get that him and Ethan have a better relationship than maybe other trimates, but you gotta hold back, man.
Honestly, I see Lex as being in a power position right here because I think that despite everything, Jerry and Ethan can still be made to work with each other, especially with Lex as a binding link. Why not target like a Xi'an?
Because that's an original Mogo alliance. Don't split that up.
Well, and I get that. I'm just saying that if you're talking about voting out, who should you keep Ethan over?
Jerry,
and I'm going to say Xi'an.
No, I disagree. Keep your numbers. Keep your original numbers highest. Ethan is 4th on the list of 5, in my opinion. 1, 2, and 3 have to be Lex, Kathy, and Xi'an. Otherwise, the whole thing falls apart.
Well, and the other reason I disagree with this, I would say that Lex should keep Ethan over literally everybody as long as he feels that he can keep this block together. Because Kathy is already thinking about flipping over to the other side ever since she got taken out. So you don't know how compromised she is or how much information she gave them. Maybe you do want to cut ties with Kathy here. I'm just saying Lex has options, and Ethan should not be one of those options. I mean, yeah, we can split hairs all day on who should be the right move, and I do believe that Jerry is. It should be the person going home. I'm just hammering home that Ethan shouldn't be going home here.
Now, it's not a terrible move for Kathy and Xi'an. They have a working relationship with Jerry. It's not a terrible move for them, but this is terrible for Lex.
Yes.
4 votes for Ethan, 1 vote for Jerry. It's been a good run. Ethan was so great this season. But his luck had to run out.
And he had a great episode, too. I mean, when Lex was like, it's got to be you, buddy, he's like, but why, though?
But why?
But why? Are you serious?
Tell me why.
So you've kept me all this time to cut me loose here? Jerry's still on the tribe. I don't understand your logic.
She's worthless. She does nothing.
And then Lex is like, well, yeah, but that's why we need to keep her. And it's like, but
what?
But your logic falls apart in so many places, Lex. I don't even know how to help you put it back together.
And Lex is such a douche in his voting confessional. Anyone can be a good winner, or like a good winner,
like a graceful winner.
Graceful winner. It takes a lot to be a graceful loser. Let's see how you do, Ethan.
Oh boy,
you douche canoe.
Also, Ethan gets voted out. Gives Kathy a kiss on the top of her head. Gives like Lex a high five handshake. Gives Xi'an a hug, grabs his torch, and says, good luck, everybody. I've had the time of my life. And he walks out.
And everyone's just like, no.
What have you done?
And then in his post-vote out confessional, he's like, you know, I've been nothing but blessed in my entire life, and there's a lot I can take away from the game of Survivor, and I'm just so grateful to have had a chance to play with such wonderful people.
And I was the last winner standing. That's pretty cool.
So it's like, Lex, your confessional had about 90 seconds, not even. It had about 15 seconds where everyone was in suspense as to how that might play out. Well, you ended up looking horrible.
Yeah. Lex's reputation. This is what it's doing.
It's like
Lexus stock going down.
It's like a very slow decline. It's like a car.
Stonks.
It's like a car that got parked on a hill. That's not really a hill. It's just like an ever so slightly downward decline, and so the car is just starting to roll. And he needs to see his car before it's rolling too far down the hill.
Put that parking brake on, Lex.
Yes.
Stop what you're doing.
Feels very reminiscent of Africa.
Yeah. And that's kind of like been a big theme in the season. When you go back to your old habits, that's when they bite you.
It's the relapsing.
And Lex is relapsing. He's relapsing hard. Not great.
Don't worry, he'll probably not make that mistake again anytime soon.
Oh, definitely not. So for best player of the episode, I had Rob. He devalues Rupert's fisherman status, and he wins the immunity challenge.
Yep.
Yeah, he was the hero in the immunity challenge role. It was him versus Jerry, so Rob.
Yep, and I have Boston Rob as the best as well.
And for worst, it's Lex.
No question.
He eliminates Ethan and tells him beforehand. A classic Lex move.
And in my opinion, every move was better than getting rid of Ethan for Lex this time. So, it's Lex.
But we will see Ethan again. And I think I can speak for everyone when we say, oh, hell yes, bring Ethan back.
I'm good.
Put Ethan on every season.
Yes.
He's just the most wholesome dude in the world. I love Ethan so much, and I think he's the shining spot of this turd of a season because he's just, it's fun to see him on the losing side of things and trying to claw and fight his way through. Entertaining. Ethan's great. One of the all-time best. Go Ethan.
Absolutely. Ethan's Spencer Bledsoe-esque storyline, for the only comparison I have is where like everything is going wrong. The whole Charlie Brown Lucy football analogy, which I think Spencer actually uses on his season. Yeah, you love to see it, and I love to see his fight and his drive, and I do think we got more from Ethan this season. So, net positive for him.
All right. Episode 9 is the closer look episode, which we're going to skip.
Which I watched diligently, and oh boy, howdy, did I enjoy it.
I think I actually watched this when I originally was watching through.
Probably. Episode 10, Mad Scramble and Broken Hearts. So tribes get paint in the mail, and Shapira's like, oh, cool, we're going to paint ourselves, it'll be cool. And Mogo Mogo is lazy as per usual and does nothing with the paint.
They're like, is this even body paint? It might be poisonous. Can't put that on our bodies.
They're just like the anti-fun tribe.
Did the instructions tell them to paint
I
themselves?
think it was kind of obvious.
Shapira is the fun V, and Moga Moga is the humdrum V.
Yeah. So the castaways, they get divided, kind of like Survivor Thailand, they get divided into pairs, and they get to go have a conversation elsewhere. It's like, oh, the classic, we're going to have the merge today. Nope. Have a tribe swap.
Xian probably saw this coming from a mile away.
Everyone, surprised Pikachu face, Xian's like, yeah, that's about right.
And by the way, this is my favorite tribe swap of all time.
Because it's a complete flip. Everyone from Mogo Mogo goes to Shapira, and everyone from Shapira goes to Mogo Mogo, except Amber. So really, everyone goes to New Peach except Amber, and Amber's just stuck with all these new people. And the best part is, all these Mogo Mogos, Lex, Kathy, and Xian, and Jerry, and then they're all going to go to the Shapira mansion with Amber. The poor Shapira tribe who built this mansion's got to go to Mogo Mogo's beach, which is just a disaster.
And plus, they just got looted for their tarp and their parachute, and there's nothing left. And it was funny from Amber's perspective. They do a whole monologue over at I guess Shapira Beach, and she's like, I'm watching them go through the toiletries and thought to myself, yep, that's about right. And they do this really unflattering shot of Jerry brushing her teeth, and they zoom it into her mouth of
It's
her
gross.
I remember that.
It's gross.
It is, and it's supposed to be. It's like the Dothraki taking over a village in Game of Thrones. It's like, well, this is mine now. Scrub, scrub, scrub.
And, we get, cutting back and forth between Amber and Rob being all sad that they're separated from each other, and I just kept waiting for them to start singing Somewhere Out There. Somewhere out there. Amber
is waiting for me.
Amber's slamming out there somewhere. I just kept waiting for that. So we get to our immunity challenge, which is Survivor Trivia, which... Put me in, coach!
I was surprised at how well I could have done. There was the question about all the first boots that I would have had a really big problem with, but I was like, oh my gosh, I know most of these.
And I think the question that does Shapira win is they couldn't remember who was the first boot of Pearl Islands.
Right.
And that's what did it.
And Rupert was on the tribe that won.
Yeah, Rupert, shockingly, remember somebody from his season.
Which was only 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Mogo
so Mogo
Mogo.
Mogo wins. But is it really Mogo Mogo?
No, it's new Mogo Mogo, which is Shapira.
Yeah. But on their way out, one of the most infamous moments in Survivor, Rob asks Lex to help Amber. You take care of her, I'll take care of you, if you can. If you can. Changes everything. Now, some context. Rob and Lex are super close friends outside of the game. They were talking on the phone for hours almost every day after Rob's season. They would talk almost every day. They were super, super tight, really close friends. Rob is asking Lex as a friend, hey, will you help Amber? She's my girl, man. So Lex, being the good friend he is, wants to help Amber.
Good guy, Lex.
And I think there's even in-game implications here as well. Shapira, but original Mogo Mogo tribe, they know that they are a catastrophe. They are one misstep away from catastrophe. Kathy's looking for ways over into Shapira. Lex is now looking for ways into Shapira. Jerry's just happy to be alive, and Amber just wants to get home. I mean, everyone on that tribe has their own story of how they want to get into Shapira. So this is Lex is okay, hopefully this is my in to maybe a foothold into the merge. I think unknowingly, Boston Rob accidentally made a perfect move here.
Yeah, I don't think he meant to. This is not 5D chess. This was an emotional play.
Agreed.
So Amber, she tries to go to Kathy to convince her to save her. Kind of a questionable pitch at first, because her first thing she says is, well, I'm better at the game and I'm better at challenges than Jerry. And Kathy's like, okay, but why should we keep you? That's a good point.
Fair. There's gotta be a merge coming up
this
soon.
This does not matter anymore.
But Amber actually does give a good point. She's like, okay, here's a final 5 deal. You, me, Lex, Rob, Big Tom. Big Tom and Lex are friends, obviously. They run Africa together. It's an enticing pitch, I think. Because Kathy got multiple ways to go on that, because she's played with Rob. She's got Lex. Lex has got Rob. Lex has got Tom. There's lots of ways that 5 could shake out.
Mm-hmm.
That is a good 5. But you got to make it happen.
Right.
Will it happen? Time will tell. I think it's too much to ask for that. Who knows what's happening with Rupert, Jenna, and Alicia over on Shapiro?
Correct.
Mogo Mogo. It's confusing. The new Mogo Mogo, new Shapiro.
Right. If I'm Kathy, this is a little bit more than I want to buy for what Amber is trying to sell me. Like, it is about as good of a pitch as you can give from Amber's position. And that's coming from a position where you have absolutely no leverage, no advantages, no protection, no reason for them to keep you. Coming into a merge situation where if they get rid of her, at least you're coming in with OG tribes of 5v5 or 4v4. So, like, it makes no sense to keep Amber here.
It doesn't make any sense. Like, yeah, there's a world where it could work out, and maybe it will. But that is it's kind of like it sounds too good to be true thing. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of other factors that you were just not aware of because you're not on that other tribe. The best you can do is keep your numbers strong and hope it'll work out because you do have less numbers. So Amber is the right move here, and the best you can hope for is to be like, I'm sorry, Rob, I couldn't do anything. I tried, but it just wasn't going to go. And you apologize and ask forgiveness. And that's the best you can hope for, and hopefully Rob won't take it personally, and you just move on.
Yeah, and I mean, along with Kathy too, like she's already mingled with this all other tribe. So if she's looking for an in at Shapiro, it doesn't need to be this way.
Sure,
like there could be other ins that are more feasible for her, and then that way you're not sacrificing someone who's currently on your tribe.
Jerry's the locked-in number. Where's she gonna go? Her closest ally from the past game is Amber, and it's between the two of them. Jerry's not going anywhere. You have Jerry. Amber, it's a less sure thing. Jerry is the better choice to keep. Amber should go home here. 4 votes for Jerry, 1 vote for Amber. But before we get to that, Lex is going to pull a Lex and tell Jerry she's going home.
2 episodes in a row. Basically the same confessional, just cut the word Ethan out, drop Jerry in, and it's the same thing. I just had to pull her aside and let her know why it was her.
And he's like, okay, don't hate me. She's like, no, why?
But why though?
It's bad. So this whole thing is just stupid. Stupid move. Jerry goes home. Amber does, and Amber stays. And the Survivor changes.
Survivor history is written on that day. So congratulations, Lex. I mean, your penmanship is on the page.
And that's all she wrote for Jerry. For now. Derek, who is your best player of the episode?
My best player, I said Amber. Because even though ultimately we kept hearing from new Shapiro, old Mogo Mogo, that everyone is like scared of Rob. I feel like a lot of that is built on past reputation. The point is, Amber was on this beach with new people and somehow worked a social relationship given what she had and survived. I don't know if it was the final 5 pitch to Kathy or sufficiently selling this idea to Lex. I don't know what happened. I don't know why she's here, but she did something and I've got no choice. I've got no choice but to give her the
Agreed,
best.
it's Amber.
Yeah.
What else can you give?
Yeah.
How about worst player?
How about Lex?
How about Lex?
What? No.
Don't tell people they're going home, first of all, but that's ultimately didn't matter here. Keep your numbers strong. You're only shooting yourself in the foot. You're not putting yourself in a better position going into the merge. And bold prediction, because I can't think of a better place during what we have left in our podcast to say, I think Lex is going to be the first merge boot, and I think that Rob is going to be the one to orchestrate it because he is in the biggest position on what is now a minority number tribe. It makes sense to get rid of him now so he can't stir up trouble down the road. So that's my bold prediction, and I think that this, though not $1 million mistake, is a game-ending mistake for Lex.
You couldn't have said it better.
Thank you.
Lex is the worst player.
Yeah, I'm just going to agree with you guys.
So we do lose Jerry here. She will play again. He's excited to see Jerry come back.
I'm good. But to be fair, I think I said the same thing after her first season. Just, I'm good.
So knowing this is not revisionist history, but because I know where this is like going, I don't know if she's on heroes versus villains. If it's a heroes versus villains season, you need to have Jerry, and I would be happy to have her on that particular theme in that particular instance. But I don't want her on I don't want her on another All-Star season. I don't want her on some other generic returner season. And I don't even know that she's on Heroes versus Villains. I'm just making an educated guess. That's the only time I want to see her. Other than that, I don't need to see her again.
I love Jerry. Bring her back. I love Jerry. She's fun. I really like Jerry. So I'm always up for some Jerry.
Ryan makes it easy.
Yep.
I like that archetype of character
that
Jerry is. I think they're fun. All right, so let's talk about the best and worst player of the pre-merge. And now, if you haven't listened to before, the only people who are eligible to be chosen for this are people who are still in the game. So we have 9 people left. The best and worst of these 9. Derek, who do you think is the best player of the pre-merge?
Boston Rob, hands down. You're in a power position on your tribe, and everybody on the other tribe is trying to please you. You're like the original Survivor Godfather. Everyone wants to please you. I think this is why he gets the nickname, and I'm starting to see it. So no question in my mind, it's Boston Rob.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, not unfortunately because I love Boston Rob, but unfortunately that it's not a closer debate. And it's fun to watch. He also has a showmance that apparently no one cares about, so good on him for that.
It's Boston Rob, and it's not close. There's nothing else to say.
Yeah.
How about worst player?
I have Sheehan. Sheehan is my worst because although Colby went to her and said, "You're not playing," and that's bad, you don't say that to her, but it is also bad. I'm all for camouflage, but you still need to be somewhat active in your camouflage strategy. Sheehan is someone who is going to be overlooked. When I was talking about the Sergeant in Marquesas, the reason I liked what he did in the pre-merge is he is naturally a huge target.
Oh, you mean the general? Robert?
Yeah.
The general. The Sergeant.
Sorry. So, yes, Ryan, you're right. The general. I loved his pregame because he's a big, hulking dude, and he played it back. Rupert playing it back in this is really good. A player like Sheehan needs to prove that she belongs on All-Stars, and the pre-merge is going to have a lot to do with that. Boston Rob, for example, he was a fringe player, but we are giving him best because he has earned that through sheer willpower. Sheehan hasn't really done anything, and the one thing she did do, which was vote out Colby, wasn't necessarily in her best interest, even though Colby had made it clear he did not want to work with her. I just don't think that ultimately it's going to end up in any positive gains for her. So I have Sheehan as my worst.
I got Lex. He's moving pieces on the board, but he's moving his own pieces straight into the trash and then lighting his pieces on fire and not touching the other side of the board for some reason. He had the queen. If we're to keep the chess analogy going, he had the other player's queen dead to rights and didn't take it out. What are you doing, brah? So it's definitely Lex. I mean, he was all right at first, but he's just shooting his own tribe in the foot multiple times. Like, he shot himself, and it doesn't seem to have noticed he shot himself, so he did it again. He's like, oh, I wonder what happens if I do that. Well, what happens if I do it again? And again. Stop shooting yourself in the foot, Lex.
It's not going to be much foot left. I'm going to side with Ryan on this one. I think it's Lex. All the reasons he said. I'd like to give a dishonorable mention, though, I think, to Jenna Lewis. I feel like she hasn't just done anything, and she didn't really have a good start to the season, and then was basically invisible afterwards. So if I would pick anyone else kind of like out of the pile here, I think it'd be her.
And I'll say the reason I didn't pick Jenna is that she had a really bad start and then just kind of faded back in. So if you have a horrible start and you're able to kind of turn that around, very Kathy situation. So,
that's fair.
But I can't argue with Lex. Not looking good for the old Derek winner pick.
Yeah, speaking of winner picks, let's go over those again. So I am on the Rupert train currently. Josh, you have Boston Rob.
Yep.
And Derek, you have Lex. We're all still alive. I mean, I lost my original pick, but whatever. We're all alive going to the merge. No new picks, but if you could, you're not allowed to. We're stuck. But if you could change your pick here at the pre-merge, would you, and who would it be?
Nope.
Josh is good with Boston Rob. Shocker.
I would. And I would change it to Boston Rob. Edit alone. Who's in a better position? I still don't think someone like Rupert can ever win this game. At least if I'm looking at making a winner pick and talking about odds, the big, hulking, physical beast, I am never going to pick them to win the game. And if they ever prove me wrong, truly, I will eat those words when that podcast comes around. But for right now, can't pick a Rupert, can't switch to a Big Tom on a personal level nor a gameplay level, just because I think that his usefulness will also run out. Yeah, I would switch to Boston Rob.
Same. Pretty easy. Boston Rob is definitely the way to go here. I mean, he's got his fingers everywhere. Mm-hmm. He has a relationship with literally everybody in the game except Sheehan.
Yeah,
and who cares? And who cares?
Yeah, and the biggest thing that would worry me about that is that he's seen as a threat and gets voted out.
Sure.
Yes.
Which is very possible.
But there's no one else who's in the same realm as him to give it to instead. So
yeah.
So here we are. All-Stars, halfway done. Do you have any other thoughts you guys want to talk about at this point?
I will say, Ryan, I think you lowered my expectations for the season enough to where I've actually enjoyed watching most of it.
That's good.
Yeah, there was the really ugly moment that we don't need to touch on anymore. That is a permanent blemish on the Survivor history. But I have enjoyed watching the returner personality aspect, even if there is a lot of really questionable gameplay and a lot of really weird character development relapses that don't make a ton of sense if you're trying to honestly play a different game. But I have enjoyed getting to see these people again, and it almost feels as though it is my first ever returner season because they do a really good job at hyping everybody up, and I've enjoyed that. So I did enjoy it, even if I don't say that it is must-watch Survivor. I have enjoyed my time. But lower your expectations going in, and that way you won't be disappointed.
Yeah, I guess I would say the same thing. One of the things that I kind of forgot about is like how present Boston Rob was, especially how much like you guys brought up like in the edits and everything. Just from my first time watching, and I know I haven't watched like any of the episodes other than the premiere, but that's just something that kind of passed my mind, I guess.
Derek, anything you want to say about the weather?
Nope, don't really have anything to talk about the weather this time because again, I'm not really tracking that anymore. Obviously, we had a lot of rain on one night in particular where obviously old Sabogo tribe's shelter got completely flooded, not just by the tide but by the rain, but even like the really good shelter that had been constructed by Boston Rob and Company, like they were like an inch above the water line. So I can only assume that the wet season in Panama is a miserable time to be living outside. Another issue is one that we remember from season 7. The bugs have played a pretty big factor, and they talk about the itching and the scratching a lot. I think Lex in particular. Again, not the hardest season. I do still think that your Africas are going to be harder. I think the bugs were worse in Marquesas. But again, rain can be really demoralizing. And of course, not having fire or any good way to drink water for the first like 3 days, also pretty miserable. And the producers realized that they needed to have some mercy.
Here's some Flint.
And that says something. If production is going to take mercy on you, you know that it's not been easy.
So, Josh, our memorability consultant.
Hello.
We're halfway through the season. You don't make your official pick of what is the most memorable moment of the season until the end. But what do you have so far? What is winning so far?
Winning, I'm not sure, but I would say there's a few finalists. Like I said, Richard biting the shark is definitely one that I remember. You've got the very, very, very obvious dirty moment with him as well. And then you also have the moment of Rob and Lex. Rob whispering to Lex there. Those would probably be in my top 3 right now. And I think I might just keep that. Okay. I don't know if I'll narrow it down yet. I'll stew on it and keep it around until we have some more eligible moments here in the post-merge.
Sure, absolutely. Well, does anybody have anything else before we sign off here?
Nope. Excited for the post-merge. Let's get through it.
Nope.
All right. This has been the Castaway Consultants.
Got nothing else for you.
Good night.